Good morning. We want to welcome you this morning to the Drainage District Board of Directors meeting for today, July 17, 2012. Present are Commissioners Palacios, Precinct 2, and Palacios, Precinct 4, and myself. We have a quorum. Is there anybody sign up for open forum?
No, sir.
Number 3 is approval of our consent agenda.
Have the check register. No concerns, Judge.
So moved.
Check.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under item 4, Judge, we have nothing unless board wishes to entertain an action in executive session.
All right, nothing else under 5 or,
No, sir.
at this time, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We'll be in recess until 9:30 to start our regular meeting. All right, good morning. Once again, welcome to this regular meeting of your Hidalgo County Commissioners Court for today, July 17, 2012. Present are Commissioners Palacios, Precinct 2, Commissioner Flores, Precinct 3, Commissioner Palacios, Precinct 4, and myself. We have a quorum. Please join us in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Monica?
Almighty God, we come together today for the good of the citizens of Hidalgo County. Give us your wisdom as we make decisions that will affect them today and in the years to come. Help us to work well together, recognizing that each of us are here because we want what is best for Hidalgo County. We ask for your blessing and your guidance. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Any concerns, Mr. Ocasio, with our consent agenda?
Yes, Judge, I would like to, I would like to ask that consent agenda item 10B, 12B, and 12G be pulled for discussion.
Need a motion to approve our consent agenda subject to those 3 items?
So moved.
Need a,
Item 12F be taken up separately.
which one?
12F.
12F. Your motion includes 12F, Commissioner?
Yes, it does.
All right, need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under,
What's
under agenda, consent agenda item 10B is for Urban County. The issue is that there's an exhibit that is missing, and the Exhibit B is called earnest money contract, and it was not attached.
Well, that's an important one. Diana? Item 10B, there's some document, earnest money contract, that's not there.
Yes, this item, if I may provide this information, is to provide a family with $5,000 so they can do a down payment and closing
No,
cost
but the only
assistance.
issue is the earnest money contract, is it there?
I don't have it until I actually get your approval to proceed.
Yeah.
What I provided with to your office and to the Commissioner's Court is actually a request to do this. Once you have the request approved, then I go through the process and making sure that all of those documents are included as part of my
Is that
packet.
the way we do it every year?
That's why we have it on consent, because it was just something that happens. I just need your approval to proceed.
There should be any problem then?
Well, if, I guess you will attach it later, is that what you're saying?
Subject to what?
The
Well,
document.
Just to get the document. Once I actually get the money to the family and they do the closing, that's when I get the document.
But earnest money contract is done prior to the actual,
Well, it shouldn't actually be an earnest money contract. What should be is actually, I'm not doing the construction, Judge. What's happening here is that USDA is providing assistance to this family, and all this family is doing with our program is obtaining the down payment and closing costs.
Steve, have you looked at that procedure?
You've looked at my plan.
And there's no problem, from what you remember us having seen it?
Are they the same, Jenna?
It is the same, all I do is change the name, the dollar amount, and then as my exhibit, I attach
Why don't we
the
go
actual
subject to
contract.
Legal, no, Steve? Yeah.
All right, need a second? Second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
motion carries. Item 12D is in David.
12B, that's for the purchasing department, actually for Constable Precinct 1. And the issue there is that the contract said that the county will reimburse the architect for expenses. However, in order for us to pay that invoice, we're going to need copies of the invoices that the architect had incurred those costs.
Well, then, you don't have any problem with that, do you?
Oh, none at all. I have sent an email, and Mr. Alcocer should be here today on another matter on the general agenda, on the regular agenda. I believe there are invoices attached. I think what auditor is requesting is that they be confirmed as paid. And in addition, I think auditor wants to know of, let's say, 50 sets of reimbursables, how many of those actually stayed out as opposed to being returned and possibly a deposits taken on those? Is that correct, Mr.
Yeah,
Professor?
I think architects charge a fee or a deposit would sell the,
What's missing here is that the architect is not showing that he has paid for the printing of those sets to begin with. He's provided an invoice, but they want confirmation that it's been paid before they're reimbursed. And an accounting of how many sets were actually distributed and returned with deposits that were kept by the architect. Is that correct?
yes,
So
ma'am.
what is your recommendation?
The contract doesn't speak to any of these. These are being imposed as additional requests by the auditor for auditing purposes. I concur with his.
They sound reasonable, though.
You're correct. I'm not arguing against, I'm just saying that I have notified the architect of the request. I asked him to either respond yesterday or be prepared to answer today. He has not arrived. He does have something on regular.
Judge, and this is for the record that I won't be able to pay the invoice until I get the evidence that the architect incurred the cost. That's all I'm saying. So if you approve the invoice,
All right, so we
He's
can
asking, that's an
approve it.
additional auditing, he's
Subject to
Being provided
compliance with his
these
request,
invoices.
certainly. I would
move for approval?
approve that.
Need a second? Second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Now, I did request for 12F to be pulled. Inadvertently, this was placed on the consent agenda. It is a sole source declaration. It should be on regular. But I didn't discover this till Sunday when I was reviewing the agenda. This is 12F, requesting approval of an order granting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under Texas Local Government Code 262-024A7, an item that can be obtained only from one source. I need action on that.
A sole source declaration?
It's going to be for a utility.
Marty, how come we don't have the same thing for all buildings that are in that area? Because there's more
This
than
is
one.
within the city limits. of ELSA. It would be, I would have to know every leased building that we have and who the contracted vendor for that city is. This is how this came up.
But I would think that the Precinct 1 multipurpose building is within the city limits of Elsa.
Yeah, it is.
So
Okay,
that's why I'm wondering why we don't have the same sole source declaration
That's fine.
for
Well,
every building.
What brought this to our attention was a note from your office to the Health and Human Services that you all would no longer pay because it had exceeded the $50,000 limit on the commodity code. That's when we discovered that the clinic is within city limits of ELSA.
Okay.
And that they are the contracted vendor, BFI. So I need action on item 1 first.
On item what?
Item 12F1.
Okay, move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 2 is approval of a sole source declaration with authority for Hidalgo County Department of Health and Human Services to purchase waste collection services from BFI Waste Services of Texas LP inasmuch as said provider is the contracted vendor for the city of Elsa commencing through PO number 668692.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The last item is item G, 12G. This is a copier, a capital lease copier through TPAS, that's the state of Texas, and Icon. There will be a state purchase order issued and a purchase order from Hidalgo County issued. There is no agreement to sign. We are piggybacking on that state award for the copier, and so therefore there's no agreement for us to review or to approve.
Judge, I think we need an agreement, a lease agreement,
Who you piggyback on?
because,
TPAS, Texas Procurement,
We need an agreement for that?
and the reason
Well-
is that I'm gonna have to audit the invoice, and I need to audit it against something.
Well-
Normally we enter into a lease agreement, and the lease agreement would say that we're gonna get so many copies allowed per month, and if we exceed, it's gonna be at a rate of so much. And that's basically what I'm looking for, some kind of document that would allow me to audit the invoices on a monthly basis.
Is there a problem with getting it, Marty?
well, you would have to, if we don't agree to the agreement between the state and Icon. Now, we also have the catalog. We've provided the catalog. We verified every issue that's on the PO. The PO also explains what is required. So everything here, and then the state PO is also going to have the specifics that Mr. Ofracio is requesting, so is our regular requisition.
Marty-
So that's what would be audited against.
We lease from state-awarded vendors, copiers and printers, and we get a lease agreement from them.
Well, I had a conversation with Ms. Chavez, Letty. She says you all do have one in-house, but it's not signed.
No, I'm talking about an agreement. We get
When
the-
they're permitted, yes, on this one, we're piggybacking on their lease agreement between the company and the state. I don't think we could change any terms and conditions if we find something that we're not going to agree to.
If I may, the only agreement I think he needs is agreement between the state and the vendor, and that will control the terms of the
If we're
agreement.
I can give
piggybacking-
you a copy of that, certainly. I'm printing everything off of that agreement.
Would that show the number of copiers you're supposed to get per month and?
Yes, it will.
Because you get an allowance, and then after you exceed the allowance, if you do,
Right.
then you
All
get
right,
charged
if
for
it
that.
does, then that'll
I'll
satisfy
provide him the
article.
copy, but right now, we're not asking for one to be signed, to be approved.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
it's proper to go ahead and take action, subject to.
As
Well,
long
he
as
just
the-
wants a copy of the agreement between the state and
Right, 'cause you
Icon.
don't
long
need
as the
any
vendor-
action, I mean, just give it to him.
Yeah, as long as the vendor.
No, it
has
doesn't
an
require, but
agreement.
I need action on this.
Steve,
I need action
I'm
to
trying.
proceed to piggyback on that award.
All right, need a motion to that effect?
Steve's got something to say.
No, I'm saying as long as the vendor has a signed copy with the state, and we're piggybacking under TPAS, we're okay.
All right, move for approval.
Need a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank
Marty.
you.
All right, Mr. Guerra, item 5.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners. There's no action under item 5A, 1 and 2 unless the court needs to entertain action further down the agenda. Item 5B, I'm going to ask for no action at this time.
Valde, before we do the non-action,
Yes, sir.
no action, I do like to at least comment on the item. I know that this issue has come up. Is the person requesting the permit in the audience today? Mr. Walker? Okay, the issue
Is
that
Mr. Walker here? No, I guess not.
All right, Judge, the reason why I'm mentioning this issue is we've had a series of staff that has been dealing with the issue for the last 6 months. Martin Ramirez, Jaime Longoria, Juan Martinez, and Oscar Montoya, alongside with Chris Trevino and Marcos Lopez out of our office. The request is obviously for the extension of their permit for their operation up in the San Manuel area. There's questions from local landowners about the impact to groundwater, about the storage of these tires. We're requesting to table at this point in time. Obviously, the local residents are working with TCEQ related to the issue, but I want to just state for the record that there is a high level of concern related to this issue, and I look forward to working with everybody to ensure that at least the county renders the appropriate action needed. Obviously, to stay concerned with what our constituents are concerned about in that area.
All right, is Martin here?
Yes.
You're requesting an extension for how long, sir?
We'd like to table the issue until next week so that we'll have it better able to get some more information on the situation out there.
All right.
The problem and the reason why I'm making statements is, Judge, I will not be here in next week's meeting. If for some reason the court is going to take any action, I wanted to make sure that my position was known to the court, that there is a high level of concern. The person that's requesting the extension has been non-compliant with TCEQ. I was hoping that you would obviously state those issues at this point in time, so at least the court would be very aware. If you want to wait till next week, I just wanted to make sure that I gave my position of
Why can't we wait for
concern.
2 weeks?
Yeah, well, that's my request. Is there any reason why we have to take it upon next week? Could it wait till 2 weeks?
There is a specific amount of time that TCEQ allows for comments on these kinds of applications. I'm concerned that we may be not able to comment if we wait too long on
Well,
taking action.
and my issue is this issue came up, this agenda item was posted Friday. We've been at this issue for 6 months now. We've requested for you and alongside with a series of our staff to look into the issue. When we're given this and the landowners in that area find out the Friday before the action items placed on the agenda, we haven't done our due diligence to our landowners in that area to inform them of what's going on so that they can come in and obviously make comment to those issues, or their concerns at least. That's the reason why I've asked to hold off on it.
Absolutely, Commissioner. Jaime Longoria from the County Judge's Office. I do know, Commissioner, that the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality does notify, they're really charged with notifying the landowners in that particular area, as well as notifying all other interested parties. So we did, we did through the Judge's Office, through the Environmental Compliance Office, did come up with some type of a letter of position to propose to Commissioner's Court.
Okay.
And I too am concerned that we're kind of pushing the deadline as far as they give us 30 days, in some cases up to 45 days to comment, and we're at that envelope at this point.
Can we get
For
2 weeks?
next week we'll be at that envelope, excuse me.
Can we squeeze in 2 weeks?
I'd be concerned that we wouldn't have enough time to submit the comments. I'm trying to get a response from TCEQ right now if they'll allow us some more time.
All right.
Okay.
I think the issue is we're going to be approving whatever comments he's going to submit in behalf of the county.
Okay.
And if we don't get him in there when they're going to be deliberating it,
And I have no problem. What I'm going to do is prepare at least a statement from our office about our concerns. At least it can be read for the record while you guys render the vote. I have no problem with that. I just wanted to be able to comment on it before.
if you do it in writing, I'll make sure it's read.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, then we're going to delay it for a week.
Yes, sir.
All right, item 5C.
Yes, Judge. Jaime, let me go ahead and just read the action item, and I know that you're going to make a comment. Item 5C is presentation, discussion, and approval of payment of invoice number 671 for the 2012-2013 annual membership dues. This would be to the U.S.-Mexico Border Counties Coalition, and that dollar amount is $11,314.08. We're asking for authority for the county treasurer to issue the check after review, audit, and processing procedures are completed by our county auditor's office.
Now, I do know, Judge, Commissioners, that the auditor did have a concern regarding the public purpose I apologize, the public purpose was not attached to the agenda item, but if it's okay with you, Judge, I would read the purpose into the record, and I'll provide a written copy to Mr. Ofracio and the rest of you. The public purpose for this organization is served by Hidalgo County's membership in the United States-Mexico Border Counties Coalition, in that a collective voice is heard in Washington, D.C. regarding border issues. The coalition exists to serve the interest of southwest border counties, primarily by educating members of Congress regarding the disproportionate costs absorbed by border counties because of their proximity to the border and because of a lack of federal enforcement of existing laws and regulations. That would be the public purpose.
With that, so moved.
Second.
Before we act on it, there's one presenter, Ms. Marilyn Ryan.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. This is my first time to speak. I was just wondering what, he answered my question as to what is this membership to? Is it to, what is it for? And I think he answered my question as it's.
In the past, they've been responsible for getting the government to issue some monies for housing, taking care of detaining illegal aliens in our county facilities, things of that nature, that directly affect the border counties between U.S. and Mexico.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Judge, Commissioners, we do have Mr. Carlos Aguilar and David Austin that are here with us from the coalition, if there's any other questions.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. That's what you needed to hear, and thank you very much, gentlemen. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Judge, and if any of the commissioners or the staff have any questions, we're just a phone call away, and we periodically are here in the border area.
Why don't you send an email or a letter to every one of the commissioners and the county judge's office, letting know who your contact people are and all that?
We do have a monthly participation meeting, and I'll let David explain the times and dates on that.
Judge, we'll make sure all the court receives our notice. Our next meeting is the first Wednesday in August. We'll be conducting our next executive committee meeting. But we'll definitely make sure everybody has our contact information. And then our next fall conference is going to be in Sierra Vista, Arizona in November 17th, 15th through the 17th. So we'll be providing information on that as well. But any questions y'all have about the current agenda, we are pursuing the public-private partnership initiatives that Henry Cuellar and Senator Cornyn are pursuing right now in Congress that would allow local communities to partner with the Customs and Border Protection to facilitate their ports of entry with additional staffing and infrastructure needs. That's just one of the initiatives, but I just wanted to highlight that one. We appreciate y'all's support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Commissioner.
Next item 5D.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Item 5D, I'm asking for 2 individuals from the Extension Service to travel to a conference. This would be in Round Rock, and it would be from July 31st to August 3rd. It would be Cristina Perez and Adelita Munoz.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Bobby Villarreal from the County Judge's Office. Item 6A, it's approval to submit the resolution of support to Cameron County and the Cameron County RMA for their consideration. In your packet, there's a resolution seeking support from Cameron County and their RMA to support 281 as an on the I-69 plan. We just wanted to bring it before you before we went to Cameron County as to form and substance, if you were okay with the wording and all that sort of stuff.
Bobby, may I ask, this is the section where 77, 83, up to 281 that leads up to Edinburgh is isolating that section as the I-69 corridor?
Yeah, and actually, this supports 281 as I-69 continuing to go all the way to Three Rivers and all that. Right now, there was a law passed a couple weeks ago that it allowed that it didn't have to connect to an existing interstate, which would have been 37. So in theory or in practicality, if it's up to interstate standards, it can get the placard on there.
That one. Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 7, our Sheriff's Office.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Richard
Morning,
Osuna,
sir.
Sheriff's Office, Hidalgo County. Under 7A, let's go ahead and take no action on that item right there.
All right, sir.
Table it. 7B, under number 1, authorization and approval to accept the Local Border Security Program FY 2012 under the grant LBSP 12.
Judge?
That'll, sir?
I'm sorry, I was going to state that there is a point of information, and I do agree with the order with respect to the
I am
action.
going to take it
Out of order, 7-4, the fourth
Yes.
one? Okay, for the revenues.
All right, so the motion is to approve item 7B1. Does that include 2, 3, and 4?
I'm going to take the items out of order on recommendation from the Auditor's Office. The next one will be item number 4.
All right, so this only applies to B1 then? Need a
Yes, sir, Judge.
Motion
Move for
and a
approval on
second.
B1.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Then under B4, on recommendation from the Auditor's Office, the approval of certification of revenues as certified by the County Auditor for the LBSP program FY 2012 LBSP 12.
Move for approval.
Need a second?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under 7B, under number 3, is the approval to appropriate the budget for the LBSP 12 grant award in the amount of $102,894.56.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Under B2 is the authorization for the county judge as authorized official to sign the grant award form, sir.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank
Judge,
you, sir.
Commissioners, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Officer. Item 8, our Health Department. Mr. Olivares, good morning.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Item 8A, discussion and action, including but not limited to indigent health care programs and expenditures. On this, I want to give a quick update on 1115 waiver, and what we've been working on is our regional health planning that's coming together. Yesterday, there was a meeting with the hospital consortium along with some of the partners from Starr County. We have a meeting coming up with the partners from Willacy County and Cameron County. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that Steve Crane was there with us yesterday and assisting with the development of any legal components involving this particular planning. As of July 31st of this year, Gersett and Associates will no longer be the consult group for the legal counsel for the hospital consortium. Effective this week on Monday, it's Carlos Zaffarini, Zaffarini and Associates out of Laredo, who will be the new counsel involving the hospital consortium. This is a very important thing that you all need to know about because there was a lot of concern and issues involving the previous method of dealing with this UPL program. But now under the new 1115 waiver, the whole role changes for legal counsels. The legal counsels can no longer get as involved to the level in as far as their consulting component as they used to be. Now it's more helping organize and coordinate. It's no longer about collections and receiving funding. So I think that's gone a long ways in correcting the right direction for this program, and that was a mandate through CMS Medicaid at the federal level.
Well, the concern was that the lawyers were actually controlling the disbursements and the expenditures.
That's correct.
And now, who's going to do it? Is it going to be a committee of?
Well, now it's all done locally. Hidalgo County Health and Human Services, our department with our Human Services team are the ones that review all the billing, review all the, do all the pre-certs. That's done, and once that's approved, and then it will go to the hospital consortium, hired a local accounting firm that does the actual disbursement of money, and that's done here locally. So it's all controlled here in Hidalgo County or here in this area versus that coming out of Austin.
Thank you, Eddie.
Eddie, are they also going to be involved in the transfer of funds? Because before the law firm was involved in notifying us that the fund was going to be transferred on a quarterly basis or whatever?
They'll still be involved with that, but it's not as controlling as it was before. And I think you understand what I'm saying, not Mr. Horacio, involving how they used to control a lot of that.
Right.
But they still will be involved with it because they're legally representing the hospital consortium here locally. So they will be involved with that way.
All right, move on to item B.
Item B is requesting authorization for Hidalgo County Health and Human Services Department to participate in the interagency cooperation contract with Health and Human Services Commission. The purpose of the agreement is to perform Medicaid administrative activities on behalf of Health and Human Services Commission to improve the availability of access, coordination, and appropriate utilization of preventative and remedial health care resources, Medicaid-eligible clients and their families. This is a program that we're working with. It's called MAC for short, where we would actually assist in some of the Medicaid components, and we actually may, if things work out, we may actually get compensated and receive some funding to assist with this with the CMS and Medicaid.
All right, if there's no questions, would entertain a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2 is requesting authorization for Hidalgo County Health and Human Services Department to participate in a business associate agreement with the Texas Department of Health and Human Services Commission. This is in reference to the item number 1, and all this has been reviewed by legal counsel as well.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item C is requesting authorization to renew the memorandum of agreement between Hidalgo County Health and Human Services Department and the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston. The aim of this agreement is to establish an agreement for the exchange of information for the cooperative research between both institutions in the field of reportable communicable diseases. The term of this agreement will begin September 1, 2012, and end on August 31st, 2017. This is part of our HIV, TB, and diabetes research we have going on for the last 12 years, and this is part of our database that we have to deal with these issues.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item D is requesting authorization to apply for health behavioral change through public education grant offered by Cancer Prevention Research Institute of Texas, aka CPRIT. The purpose of this funding is to foster prevention of cancer in Texas by providing financial support to a wide variety of projects relevant to cancer prevention, risk reduction, and early detection and survivorship. Just to apply for a particular grant, sir.
Second. Need a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I want to thank you, sir, and I want to acknowledge Ms. Josie Ramirez out of the DA's office, sir. She has been tremendous in assisting us with a lot of these agreements and reviewing all of this work, so I'd like to publicly thank her for her support, sir. Thank you very much.
Item 9, our IT department.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, sir.
Short item. It is approval to purchase 2 data cards for the Precinct 4 Maintenance Department through the county's contract with DIR. The equipment is as listed on the item.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge. Have a
Thank
good
you,
morning.
sir. Item 10 is Urban County.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning.
Apparently, the auditor has a concern with item 10A, and I don't understand why, so.
Well, why don't you make your presentation and
Okay.
he'll voice his concern.
All right. This is on behalf of the city of San Juan, in which they're requesting approval of a best and final negotiated contract with Cruz Hogan Consultants in the amount of $25,230. This is for a flood drainage improvement project on Chaparral, Buffalo, and Huizache Street in San Juan.
The comment has to do with the legal counsel formal review and approval of the contract.
Yes, sir. If I think in the last page
Was
of
it
the
done?
contract, you'll notice that the contract itself was reviewed as to form in April of 2012.
Okay. Well, if it's been reviewed. Now, the other issue is just a point of information, the liability insurance is set to expire in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. Now, normally, before we enter into contract, we ensure that the insurance is current. So this one, we will not be able to request one until we actually sign the contract and know that they have, in fact, exceeded the date of their agreement, or of their insurance.
All right, thank you.
No other questions?
Yes,
Entertain a motion to approve item 10A.
Move to approve. Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, for 10B, I'd like to request that we hold a public hearing to consider public comments regarding a Precinct 1 proposed budget and program amendment.
At this time, we're going to convene a public hearing to consider comments for Hidalgo County Precinct Number 1's proposed budget and program amendment for fiscal year 2011, original work plan utilizing forfeited funds. Is there anyone here that desires to speak either in favor of or in opposition to this request? No one? All right, then we will close our public hearing and go ahead and proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Item B is requesting the approval of the budget and program amendment for Precinct 1, in which the precinct will utilize funding by deleting street improvement activity of the amount of $260,000 and allocating from that amount $115,000 to a water and sewer improvement project in the city of Elsa, as well as provide $145,900 for solar lights. The purpose of the public hearing and the budget and program amendment is to allow the precinct to provide funding to Elsa to match funding from the Texas Department of TxDOT for the widening of FM 88.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. And for the record, we've been joined by Commissioner Quintanilla, Precinct 1.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge. The next item is disclosure of conflict of interest for Community Development Housing Organization Shoto applicant Francisco Valdez. Mr. Valdez has applied for assistance under the Shoto program with the local nonprofit organization known as Proyecto Azteca, and he is currently an employee of the agency. However, he does meet the criteria for assistance based on the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and we are merely disclosing to the court that this is the conflict that we've gone through the attorney through.
So you recommend for approval?
Yes, sir, he meets the qualifications as a low to moderate income individual and
Move to
therefore
approve.
deserves
Second.
to receive assistance.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you. Our next item is also on behalf of Precinct 1, in which we are requesting consideration and action to award and enter into construction contract with Science Utility Contractors, being the lowest bidder meeting specifications and requirements for a Texas Department of Rural Affairs contract 729055 in the amount of $84,360. This project involves sanitary sewer extension improvements to Colonia Science, De Anda, and Perez subdivisions.
Move to approve. Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge Commissioners.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item, item 11, our Elections Office.
Good morning, County Judge, Commissioners. Veronica Lopez representing the Elections Department.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Discussion and/or action, including but not limited to election updates. We will be having the first day of early voting, July 23rd, and the last day, July 27th, with the election day being July 31st. Please come out and vote. Requesting approval of the following claim invoice with
Before you go into the next item,
Yes, sir.
at the last meeting, I made a suggestion about locating for the November elections,
Yes.
to avoid confusion, that we have the same sites. If we're going to be conducting an election for the city or the schools, that the elections be held in the same building,
Yes.
so that the citizens don't have to be running around on election day looking for where do they vote for the schools, where do they go for the city, and where do they go for the general. And I'd like to get a proposed list from the Elections Office that we can vote on and act on the location of these sites.
I spoke to Ms. Ramon, and at this time, the locations for November are going to be the same as the May. So we do not have any changes at this
Well,
point.
that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking
For
that you
the
look at
proposed-
them and make sure that there's no
The same
conflict,
as-
that there's no confusion.
Give you a list.
Yeah, give us
Okay.
a list that
Sure.
we can approve.
Yes.
And also give us a list of the election judges that Ms. Ramon is proposing conduct the elections.
Yes, County Judge, I will inform her, and we will prepare a list.
And bring it for next week so we can start looking at it.
Yes.
All right.
Now, for the second item, requesting approval of the following claim invoice with authority for the county treasurer to issue payment check after review, audit, and processing procedures are completed by the county auditor. This is for the monitor in the amount of $4,470. It was 70,000 inserts that ran in the monitor and the town crier promoting the poll locations.
Excuse me, I don't mind, but I just want to ask, why is it a claim?
It is a claim because we receive the information via email, and it was overlooked with the several emails that are received prior to an election.
Do you have any problem with that, Mr. Ofracio? No?
No, if you approve it,
All right, move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, County Judge and Commissioners.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, item number 12, our extension service. Good morning, Ms. Torres.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Storrs from the Texas AgriLife Extension Service, Hidalgo County. And the gentleman here next to me is Mr. Brett Erickson, and he's going to give you an update on the citrus greening situation. The Texas Citrus Mutual has a grant, a federal grant, to address this problem for our industry, and they've asked us to get involved in that as a contractor.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Again, my name is Brett Erickson. I'm with Texas Citrus Mutual. As far as an update on citrus screening, as you all know, it was detected here January 13th of this year. It still has only been, it's only limited to 2 groves south of San Juan. It has not been detected outside of those groves. TDA and APHIS USDA are doing intensified surveys. Literally tens of thousands of samples have been taken from all around the quarantine and outside the quarantine, and there have been no additional positive finds. We would like to do a project with Texas AgriLife to do some outreach to homeowners, nurseries, and to the winter Texan trailer parks. We already have a grant that's been approved by USDA CHIRP. It's a citrus health response program, and we have a part of that money going to the Citrus Center in West Dakota work on the commercial groves, and then we would like the AgriLife Extension to do more of the residential work on that.
Very good, sir. Are there any questions? If not, we'll proceed to item 2.
I just wanted to make an announcement that we were awarded the 2013 conference for the State Master Gardener Association. We've guaranteed 500 hotel nights with the City of McAllen, but we anticipate quite a bit more than that. We should have at least 600 people for a 3-day conference and tours, and we'll be working with Commissioner Tito Palacios on our demonstration garden that we have for that event, and because Master Gardeners like to see what other Master Gardeners have been doing. So we've got some projects here in the county that we're real proud of, and of course the project at the North San Juan Park. We have several gardens there, and the public will see us improving those and putting out signage and expanding those.
I didn't realize our commissioner was a master gardener.
Oh, he's not. He just loves Master Gardeners.
I don't know. I see a green thumb here, so.
He's not allowed to become a Master Gardener until he retires, and he can give me full-time service.
Start tomorrow if he wants to.
But anyway, I just wanted to make that announcement for you. Thank you. I'm going to put some cards in the back that have our website for the conference.
What was the question, ma'am?
Yes. It's going to be at the McAllen Convention Center on October 17, 18, and 19. Oh, and we're going to allow the public to come in. Since I've been writing a gardening column for 12, 13 years for the Monitor. We have a big following with our Master Gardener educational programs. We're bringing in authors, garden writers from all over, and we're going to have phenomenal speakers. So we are going to allow the local people to participate. We've gotten permission from the state to do that.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Next item is item 13, our right-of-way department.
Yeah, Judge, good morning, Judge Commissioners. Joe Peña with the Right-of-Way Department. Our item 13A is authorization for title report, surveys, meets and bounds, appraisals, and acquisition of 2 lots on Hohen subdivision for Precinct 4 drainage project.
Move for approval. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B is authorization for title report, surveys, meets and bounds, appraisals, and acquisition for additional right-of-way on Cuevas Road, Precinct 4.
Approval.
Second. Thank you.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item C is approve execution of an easement of access agreement, quitclaim deed, transfer of easements received from Hidalgo County Irrigation District Number 1 for San Carlos Drainage Project, Parcel 10, related to the interlocal corporation agreement between Hidalgo County Irrigation District and Hidalgo County, dated January 23rd, 2009.
Move for approval.
Judge,
No problem?
a quick comment on that item. Is there a value for the easements? And if there is, we need to provide it to the purchasing department.
There's no monetary exchange on this. It's a transfer on, based on the interlocal. They're transferring drainage ditches
Right.
that we're going to take over.
I understand. The question is there any value of the easements that are being transferred? And if there is, we need the value so we can list it in our listing of assets.
Okay, we can try and determine that I'll get with legal counsel and
We can approve subject to
purchasing.
that then, right?
Yeah.
And we'll determine that.
Thank you.
Need a
Thank you.
second? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. You may need, Joe? In valuing it, I don't think you need a lawyer. I think you need,
Yes, sir.
You probably can do a better job than a lawyer on trying to assess it for value purposes.
Right. Yeah, what we can do, we didn't appraise it because, there's the,
No, we don't want to spend money on an appraiser. I think you can come up with a value.
yeah, we'll come up with, we'll check the surrounding areas and give it a more or less,
He's done it before.
just for our assets.
I think you've done that before, right, Joe? Where you estimate the value per square foot and then multiply it
Yeah.
times the total square feet.
Basically, it's for documentation.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Item 14, our auditor's office.
Judge, the 14A, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the audit reports submitted by Emergency District, Services District Number 3. The Services District are required to submit an annual audit report to Commissioners Court. I sent a letter to all the districts. Number 3 was the first one to respond.
Where is that number 3 at? Precinct
It's
1?
in Precinct 4.
Precinct 4?
Yeah. And they submitted 5 annual reports. The last one they had submitted was in 2005, so they submitted 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. They're due to submit the 2011, July 1st. We have not received that, but they called and said that it's coming within the next few days. So they will bring them in compliance. The other 3 districts.
What area is number
It's precinct
3?
4 area, Judge.
Number 3 is Precinct 4.
The
But I
issue,
mean, what area of precinct 4?
it incorporates all the rural area.
The only one that
Precinct
doesn't
4.
have an emergency district is precinct 3, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Precinct 1 has 2 districts.
Yeah.
Precinct 2 has 1, and Precinct 3 has none. We have 4 districts in the county.
Judge, the reason it's been an issue is we've been, the ESD number 3, which is in our district, probably has maybe 4 to 5 transactions a year. We haven't had them on a, on a yearly basis where they report to us. As we're dealing with some of these issues, we're trying to bring them up to par. There is some language in the contract stating that if they don't submit them, that we are to remove the president and the treasurer. And what we're doing is giving the ESD ample time to come into compliance, obviously, and to create the system that every year they're going to show their compliance by submitting them within that timetable. It's one of those things that after, year in, year out, if you don't pay attention to it, it obviously falls by the wayside. There hasn't been an enforcement process. We're hoping to, at least the court would consider whether it's our fire marshal's office or the emergency management, to assure while we're re-engaging in contracts with them that they are in compliance with that aspect of
I can continue to do that, Judge, if you want me to, every year, around this time, submit a letter to request the audit reports.
What are you recommending for this morning?
This morning, I'm just presenting those 5 audit reports for
right.
consideration, because they're required to bring them to Commissioners Court on a yearly basis.
Were they
You wanted to make a comment, sir?
They're attached to, the county judge got a set of reports. I have a set, and one was attached to the agenda for the record.
I believe they should go to the county judge's office.
Yeah.
As well.
I think gentleman has a...
Okay, this emergency service district, I understand, was created by the Commissioners Court, and this one is for Edinburgh and Precinct 4. They have the power to tax. In other words, they got some of our tax money. And I read through the findings for the audit on the 2010, startling things here. Financial statement preparation and other reporting matters. Didn't have one. Controls over certificate of deposit investments. Need corrective action. Controls over accrual of property tax receivables. Corrective action. Controls over accrual of accounts payable. Corrective action. Controls over accrual of interest earned on investments. Corrective action. Lack of accounting and investing policies. Corrective action. Anticipated completion date on all of those is as soon as possible. That's not a corrective action date. That can be whenever. Corrective action date should be a firm date, and they have to adhere to it. I was going to make a suggestion that this commission should have due diligence and require someone to monitor these, and I was going to suggest emergency management director like you. But somebody has to be overseeing these things besides the auditor every 5 years finding out, oh, they haven't submitted a report. This is our tax dollars. If they're controlling the money this way, I'd like to know, how are they controlling the management services? Has anybody performed an audit of that? If not, perhaps we should think about it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments? You just need action.
You need action on this then?
No, they're just acceptance of the reports.
Yeah. Move for approval then.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 15, Precinct 2.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Raul Salguero for representing Commissioner Hector Palacios, Precinct 2. Judge, item 15 is Commissioner Palacios is redirecting some resources into road improvement projects. So we're going to delete some positions and create some. I'm just going to list delete the following positions as listed. Those are 4 positions at a total savings of $163,153.
Move for approval.
Second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 2, create 2 positions as listed at a cost of $68,924.
Yes or no? Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 3 is delete the listed positions, or 18 positions, at a total savings of $521,239.
Move for approval.
Need a second? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And item 4 is
Aye,
the
motion
creation of
carries.
5 positions at a cost of $213,728.
Move for approval.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
The total savings is in excess of $500,000 for road improvement projects. And item 5 and 6, approval of interdepartment transfer and approval of the revised salary schedule.
To be transferred to which precinct?
About $10.
We have, I need approval on 5 and 6.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge,
Where does the
Commissioners.
money go to, the savings?
Into road projects, Commissioner, we have,
Their own budget.
Their own,
for road projects.
okay. Item 16, Precinct 4. Is anyone here from Precinct 4?
Back there.
I know that we need approval to create the following part-time position. Slot number 0074, clerk 4, at a salary of $29,458. Are there any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve item 16A, 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 17, our Budget Office.
Morning, Judge Commissioners. Item 17A is approval of certification of revenues as certified by the county auditor for the ECISD project barrier revenues. If I can get approval of that?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And item 17A2 is approval of the appropriation of those funds and the total amount of $117,439.18.
Move for approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. For the benefit of the public, this is the money that the county spent in assisting the Edinburgh School District and the residents of our county, and specifically the Edinburgh District, as a result of that Harwell incident that occurred earlier this year.
That's correct, Judge. Item 17B is presentation, discussion, and direction on Operation Clean Slate. I had a sheet passed out, just a status update on the Operation Clean Slate. Again, the initial database that was created for Clean Slate was done in April, included all delinquent accounts as of April 2011. The collections to date have been $524,000 using the online database. With some of the updates that we have for today is the IT department has re-engineered that system to not only include the delinquent accounts as of April of 2011, but now it has up-to-date accounts. So any fines and fees that are assessed today will be posted online, and individuals can go and pay those fines and fees online right now. We do have that link on our county website so that individuals can go and pay those fines and fees online. However, as you can see by the amount, the $524,000, that amount has, we had an initial surge when we did the Operation Clean Slate public awareness campaigns. Since then, the use of the online portal has slowed down. What we're requesting is to do a second public awareness campaign, make the public aware that now they can pay current fines and fees. That's something that had not been previously made aware to the public. So we're asking that if we can get authority to go and do some other PSAs, do some more mailings, put it on our website, and perhaps do some other media blitz to make the public aware of this online database, the online payment portal that we have.
Sergio, do you have any extra handouts?
No, sir, I have the one extra one, but that's
I
for
think we also
Commissioner
need to
People.
provide one to
Here, there's some, right?
to the county clerk.
Excuse me?
I think we also need to provide one to the county clerk.
Yes, to the
For the
county clerk,
record.
yes, we'll have it attached on the agenda quick for that.
You know, the fact that we have had such a slowdown in collections, I mean, probably about 100,000 in the last few months, when initially we had almost 500,000.
Correct.
What do you attribute that to?
I think it has to do with the public awareness. That awareness has not been continued. It was not sustained. We did an initial media blitz in the beginning. We did the PSAs. We showed one here in Commissioner's
At that
Court.
time, we told the public we gave them specific dates. We obviously haven't complied with those dates.
We did give the public some dates as far as when we were going to bring in the scofflaw program.
The scofflaw and then the lawyers.
That's correct. The scofflaw program, we came to court in February of this year to switch over from the traditional scofflaw, DMV scofflaw model to go to the El Paso, the Cameron County scofflaw model, the enhanced
Well, who
collection
decided
system.
that? Who
Excuse me?
decided that?
We brought that to court in February of this year.
I don't think we
to
voted
switch
on
over.
doing that.
There was an approval to explore this new scofflaw program, and the Fines and Fee Committee has been working diligently in getting that online. We have, since that time, we've purchased a testing unit that we're going to have, which already been tested by the IT department and our vendor, Hamer. So we're getting ready to put that at the tax office, do an on-site testing, do some training for the staff, and then we'll be, within the next coming weeks, we'll bring an action item to the court for authority to purchase the remaining equipment that needs to be done. We expect the procurement, the configuration, and the setup of all the computer systems to take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Right now, we have a tentative go-live date for the refusal of vehicle registration to start on October 1st of this year.
I get the impression that someone dropped the ball, because that's the reason that we're not getting the collections that we should be getting. And we need to put in place the scofflaws. I mean, people start realizing that they're not going to be able to get their vehicle registration or the driver's license, they're going to pay. And they need to. I mean, we need to collect these monies for the benefit of the residents of the county.
Yes, Judge. We're in agreement with that. It did take a while to get the database and all the systems in place to be able to do this electronically, not having to send people away. We're trying to get everything done online, trying to eliminate as much as the human error that can occur.
So what's the projected date?
Projected date that we have is October 1st of this year. We have the testing unit, as I mentioned, ready to go, and we'll need to procure.
What is going to happen on that date?
At that date, the tax assessor collector would begin to deny registration of vehicle registrations to the general public that have outstanding fines and fees. We met yesterday. The tax assessor was in attendance at the meeting, and he's given us his support to be able to do this, to do it the online method, and have everything, try to do as much paperless as possible. So we have that go-live date for October 1st of this year.
Sergio,
Yes, sir.
what is the anticipated cost to the county to set up all this you talked about?
I think we're looking at a little bit over $100,000 to do all the equipment that we have, that we're going to have to purchase for the motor vehicle department at the tax assessor collectors. Right now, that's the initial cost that we have. We've discussed in our committee, we have not presented to court, we have discussed perhaps hiring one collection specialist that we can house at the Kmart building, since that's the station that has the biggest number of visitors. Have somebody there, that way whenever the tax assessor denies vehicle registration because of an outstanding ticket, there's someone on site that can collect that ticket. That way people don't have to be going to the different JP's office, they can go to that one collection specialist, and they would collect the outstanding fine and fee, and then at that point, they can go get back in line and register their vehicle to make sure that they're right there. That's another cost that could be, that we're exploring. There, we're looking at about $35,000 for a full-time person to be stationed there at the
Do we
Kmart
need
building.
somebody there? I mean, can't we just make that as an additional responsibility on the part of the person working for the tax office to collect it?
We discussed it with the tax assessor. He does have issues as far as him not being bonded to collect the outstanding fees and fines for a JP. We can explore it again with Mr. Barrera as far as perhaps see what needs to be done for his staff to get bonded to do that.
Okay, sir.
Why can't we get an employee from a JP, which is bonded house there?
We discussed that as well, to having a rotating person from the JP office come and man that little substation, the little collection station. We've discussed that as well. We're trying to set up meetings with the JP offices to explore that even further.
We can get a JP from precinct 4 to do that, and we can get instead of spending all that money.
Each of the precincts have a constable, so.
Correct. We've explored those options as well to try to do that. Right now, we have not come to court to say that we do need another FTE. We've only been looking at these other
I would
options.
suggest you work on it without having to hire more people.
We'll definitely move in that direction.
All right. All right,
Yes,
thank you.
sir.
The question was on the fine schedule as far as someone trying to make restitution. If they're not able to pay the full 100% lump sum of what they owe, is there any options for our citizens?
They can always go back to the JP, and the JP could set them up in a payment plan. But the JP, they would have to go to the JP's office at that point.
If they haven't paid for this long, and they get their license fee,
Chances that if they don't pay, they might not come back to pay the rest of the fines and fees. So we have been looking at just doing 100%. If it's not paid 100%, then they can't register their vehicle. But again, the Justice of the Peace does have some discretion there.
No matter the amount? No matter the amount that's owed?
Yes, again, they would, again, the Justice of the Peace does have some discretion as to the fines, the county fines, so they would be able to be in a better position to say whether they would be able to set up a payment plan or not. Right now, we're not looking at doing that, but that's something that we can bring up to discussion with the Justice of the Peace.
Sergio, going back to the judge's question about who in particular is responsible for monitoring these activities.
We do have a committee, a fines and fees committee of individuals.
I'm not asking for a committee. I'm asking for who has been assigned to track this effort.
To do these efforts, our office has been assigned as far as to share this committee.
Can somebody give us, I guess what I'm asking is, who can we call if we need information regarding collections, effort, up-to-date report, that kind of activity?
You can call our office, Commissioner, and we'll provide that information to you. We're utilizing several strengths from different departments. We have IT, Mr. Mike Robledo, Mr. Renan Ramirez, that are doing the IT component.
That's my question.
We have Michael Leo from the judge's office that has been keeping track of the
I think the
collections.
question is there one individual that we can pick up the phone and call?
Yes, sir. The chairman of the Fines and Fee Committee is Mr. Rey Salazar from my office. He is the chairperson for the committee, and he's the one that's been directing the meetings. And
Well, better yet, we could get a monthly report on the efforts, collections, balances.
I think that would force the issue a little more.
we'll do that. We'll prepare a monthly report to the court listing what's been done the current month, listing what will be done in the coming months. That way we can have something to gauge as far as did we have any progress or not during that time period. We'll start providing those monthly reports to the court.
All right.
Again, we do expect that we should have, within the next 3 months, we should have this up and running. So definitely, again, October 1st is when we want to have this ready. If it's not, then definitely there'll be some accountability.
Sergio?
Yes, sir.
Perhaps you can get the JPs to give the Armando authority to collect those fees. I think right now we have the county clerk collects for some of the JPs certain fee. I don't know what it is, but it's just an agreement they have allowing them to collect those fees.
Correct.
There's one way
I
you can-
believe this last legislative session, Commissioners Court was given the authority to set up a collections program. So I believe maybe we can go look at that avenue as far as having Armando being able to do that. But we'll visit with Mr. Barrera, and we'll also visit with the JPs as far as trying to do this without incurring any more FTEs and incurring any more costs to the county.
All right, sir, let's take care of your item so we can proceed to our Board of Directors Drainage District workshop.
Yes, sir. That was just a status report. We'll definitely proceed based on your direction. Item 17C is presentation discussion on the unemployment compensation process. I did pass out a handout that has the last 3 years, the unemployment claims that have been filed with the county. We've processed over 450 claims during the last 3 years, 2009, 2010, 2011. We also have the statistical figures as to the amounts that we've won, the claims that we've lost, and then those that have been appealed. Right now, currently, our office had been charged with providing the information to our unemployment compensation representative, which is TOX, which is out of the Texas Association of Counties. They're one of the vendors. What we want to do regarding unemployment compensation is become a little bit more aggressive with the administration of unemployment compensation. We've drafted some procedures that we want to start following. We forward them over to Ms. Josie Ramirez for her review. We've also forwarded them over to Ms. Cortez for her review as well and for their comments. What we want is start to develop an aggressive training program for the departments, letting them know the documentation. We did include in here, the second to the last page is the top reasons, and a lot of them have to do with representation by the department during the claims processing, and also the documentation that's being provided. Sometimes there's a lack of documentation, or the documentation does not fully support the cause for the dismissal. So what we want to do is start an aggressive training campaign for the departments, for the elected officials, letting them know, at least for the individuals that are responsible for the processing of these claims, letting them know what type of documentation should be in the file, perhaps even having a level of review within Josie Ramirez's office and Ms. Cortez, to where anybody that's going to be dismissed perhaps first has to submit their file for dismissal, their case for dismissal to them for their review before they're actually dismissed via the county. So those are some actions that we would like to take.
There's a young lady behind you. Ms. Munoz?
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. I'm just kind of listening to his comments. I've been with the county for 12 years with the county clerk's office, and we had prided ourselves that up to this date, we had not paid any unemployment because of proper documentation. However, we came to find out that actually 5 individuals had received unemployment. Our office was never told. We were never given the opportunity to, fight these unemployment claims. Then we have an understanding that there is a, what's called a chargeback. If the person leaves, they go somewhere else, they can still come back and claim with us. However, what I have read under the Workforce Commission is that we still have the opportunity to appeal it, and we were not given that opportunity.
Is it because of lack of notice, or?
We were never notified.
Who's notified at the county level from the workforce?
TOX is the one that's being notified by the Texas.
I mean, this is a.
Texas Workforce Commission. TOX is being notified, then they notify our office regarding any claims that need to be protested. Then at that point, our office would then notify the department.
We do need to become more aggressive. We need to become more vigilant.
That is correct.
But we need to involve our human resources. I mean, they need to be actively involved in making sure that we challenge and protest the ones that need to be protested. But last year we spent.
We actually have gone, protested 2 that actually went through and they did not pass because we were given the opportunity. On these other ones, we weren't even aware that this had happened.
There is some circumstances where the county is a responsible employer for paying of these unemployment claims. However, they might have already left our employment. They might have left our employment on good terms, been hired somewhere else, and then they get terminated at that during that employment. However, the fact that they got, then we don't get notice as far as whether we have no authority to file a claim as far as protests. The reason why they're going to be getting unemployment, we're just a responsible employer, and then at that point we have to pay those claims because we are a reimbursing employer and we're not paying premiums for unemployment claims. We're basically just reimbursing any costs to us. That's some of the drawbacks that we have as being a reimbursing employer.
Well, every one of these claims needs to be looked at, I feel like, by the department head, by a lawyer from Josie's office, and by the HR person especially. And then to make a determination, this is one we're going to be challenging or not?
That's something that we can do. We could have human resources as a point of contact to TOX, and that way everything goes through the Human Resources Department. They do have, they are the custodian of the employment record, so that might be a better fit for this type of process.
And I understand, Josie, you want us to defer any further discussion until maybe another week or two, or a
On
little?
this issue or the next item?
The next item.
The next item, yes. On the FLSA exemption issue, our office has been working with the Human Resources Department and the Executive Office in evaluating an analysis of this exemption and how it's being applied to the county employees. So we'd recommend no action or discussion at this time.
All right.
Let me ask you, Balde,
Yes, sir.
do we have any policies in place that addresses the documentation of conferences or
The documentation of what? I didn't hear that last part, Commissioner.
conferences with employees that are,
Yes, there are policies and procedures in place within our Brown Book or our Civil Service Book.
Judge, Commissioners, before I was an elected official, obviously I was a county employee. The problem that we're having is it's just, there's a lot of fragmented processes out there, and we haven't centralized a standard just yet. And Judge, I know we were in the conversation last week on how we're going to take a lot of these vulnerabilities and figure out how we're going to not just talk about standards, but actually develop them and vote them here at court.
Develop the procedures.
Yeah, so I know that the Budget Office has been diligent, so has Valdes' office, in figuring out the processes, but obviously we need sponsorship from the court, and I don't see where we're reluctant to do it, but we just need those standards so that we can address all these issues and
Again, yes.
as quickly as possible.
Raul, can you address this?
Judge, Commissioners, I'm not aware of any policies that we have in terms of who is granted an exemption from FLSA and who is not. Basically, it is the county, the employer, who decides who they want to exempt. Once they make that decision, then there's a test to see if they can be exempted. But we don't have a process for the county to decide who should be exempted and who should not be exempted. And I think we need to have some procedures so that the court is the one who decides who is exempted and who is not, because it is to the benefit of the county to exempt that person. Otherwise, everybody should be non-exempt.
On a precinct level, how many does each precinct get?
How many, what, sir?
On a precinct level, how many exempt people do you get?
Sir, nobody should be, there's no granting of exemptions. You're talking about civil service. This is FLSA.
Yeah.
FLSA, there's no granting, there's no automatic. The only ones that would be exempt would be persons that are the personal assistants of each elected official, who are civil service exempt also.
Yeah.
Those are exempt from FLSA. But everybody else, I think we need to have a process, a procedure for the court to decide who should be exempt if it's to the benefit of the county.
I agree that we do. And I think Josie was going to be taking the lead, and that's why she's running a little bit more time.
Yes, Judge, we were talking about it. We had a meeting yesterday. The issue is that there are some positions that are statutorily required to be exempt. In addition, you have professionals, and I think the policy has been you've given deference to those professionals, attorneys, nurses, and so they were also considered FLSA exempt. At the precinct level, elected officials were given their discretion to designate employees that were exempt. And I think how it's been handled in the past is that legal counsel was involved in the decision-making process and assisted in making those determinations. So.
Please address the issue that we talked about and acted on in January of this year. Exempt employees still believe that all they've got to do is clock in
4 hours.
4 hours and go home. And that's not the case. I don't believe that's what the rules provide for.
No,
But
Judge.
I think you need to clear it up so we can clearly let the employees know.
That was
What our
also part of our
position
discussion, that is not the case, and that should not be handled that way, and we will make sure the timekeepers know that.
Judge, I think the classification is one issue, but the other issue is the documenting of the time worked.
Oh, you had a question?
Judge, what I was saying is that the classification is one issue, but the other issue is the documenting of the time worked by exempt employees. We're currently doing an audit, and preliminary results is that there's non-compliance with that policy. The policy requires, county policy requires that all employees document time worked, utilizing the time clock that we have.
And I think that we should insist that they do that, clock in and clock out.
Right. Well, but the problem is, employees are clocking in and out using the clock, but the clock is set up that once you clock once, it gives you 8 hours automatically, and that's
Well,
the
that's
issue.
not the case, otherwise why clock out?
Right. But that's what I'm saying is that we need to modify the system that was developed to clock
Right.
in and out.
Do
I
we
think-
have, do we have any county employees that are on salary?
Yes.
Hourly or salary?
Salary. Those
So
are
what's
the
gonna
exempt
happen there when
employees.
they work on Saturday and Sundays and on the comp time? I mean, they're not, because actually they're getting paid on 40 hours.
Yes, we're trying to develop those procedures and try to go through some of these scenarios as how it's going to affect the employee and how it's going to affect the county. If we could just be given a chance to work with Josie's office to bring.
What kind of timetable are we looking at? Because it lingers on, the issue continues to linger on, and no offense.
No,
but-
no, Judge, Commissioners, and Mr. Facio, if you want an actual legal opinion on this issue, we can do that and address the issues that way, and that way you will have the legal opinion and base any potential policies on that.
Right, but also the production of policy standards so we can adopt here at court, so there is no question.
And I think what's occurring right now is you've got your Human Resources Department working on consolidating the employee manual and the civil service manual, and some of these issues are being raised as that process is going forward. I know that we've been actively involved currently with that process and trying to get a time frame so that we can get it wrapped up as soon as possible to get those before you for approval.
All right. So you're going to be coming back, and I don't know if we set a time. How much time do you need, Joseph?
On this particular issue, it won't be but another couple of weeks, but
All
on the
right.
actual
But-
personnel, the
and
personnel
also-
manual, that's a
Judge, we do
different
have
I would like our Human Resources Director to be actively involved on both of these two issues. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Oh, no, I was acknowledging the Esters in the audience. Also, the biggest question is, when is it, I guess, when are we going to unite the two books? Is there a timetable uniting the blue book versus the brown book? I know we've been trying to do this for quite some time.
Yeah, and I don't mean to speak for Esther, I know that they've been working on it. I'm not sure whether there is a set timetable as to, a drop dead date as to when they want to bring it to court, a target date. I'm not aware of that, but I know that they have been working on that. We'll try to put something on the agenda in 2 weeks to address some of these issues and at least give a status update as far as how much has been done within these 2 weeks.
All right. Okay, is that it from our
Yes.
Budget Department, sir?
That'll be it for items B, C, and D. We'll go ahead and proceed as the court has directed in moving in all these three fronts, and we'll provide the court regular status updates as to our efforts in these
All right,
three
Cynthia, I'm
items.
going to ask you to bear with us, please.
Yes, sir.
We're going to recess our regular meeting and at this time convene the workshop that was set for 10:30 a.m. of Drainage District Board of Directors for today, July 17, 2012. The entire court being present, we have a quorum. Item 2 was discussion and direction on the potential bond referendum for the November 2012 general election.
Judge, Commissioners, thank you very much. We have some exhibits we're going to be putting up. What we have before y'all are several items. One of them is discussion on the proposed bond issue. Over the past several months, in meeting with the advisory board and coming before Commissioners' courts, we have a list of projects that have been discussed with the Commissioners, and what we're trying to do is get direction from this board. What are the wishes? Do we move forward with it? Do we not move forward with it? Can you hand them out? We'll be handing them out again to you. And try to get these items on some official action on it. We are passing out to you again a list of the projects, a small exhibit on the project. We also have a letter of some direction from Mr. Chuy Ramirez, from Ramirez Guerrero, which is our bond counsel, on some questions that we did ask him and passed out to this board. So more than anything, it's getting some general direction, what the wishes of the board is, and what we'll be handing out in front of you right now and putting up on the board is going to be the layout of the project and trying to get some direction as to when we'll put this item for y'all's consideration. We have listed about 21 projects in there that range from pump structures to our Raymondville drain, to laterals, to going forward and recapturing some of the assets that the county has utilized their local county money to acquire in the past. and moving forward also on the rural drainage development program to assist the commissioners in some of the rural colonias that we have out there. We also have our financial advisors here that have run some numbers for the board's consideration. We can go through a full presentation for them, or I can give you the general view of where we stand on what the potential cost of this project would be. Judge, Commissioners.
Okay, sir.
What we are looking at is a total bond referendum consideration by this court and the citizens of Hidalgo County to the tune of about $168 million. About $100 million of that is going towards the Raymondville drain that we're having discussions with the Water Development Board to get a zero interest loan to bridge it while we construct the project and work through WRDA and the federal government for the recapturing. This, unlike the levies, is a law that is on the books that we have the ability to recover those monies back for us. Our position right now is to try to get these projects moving forward. In addition, we've had a recommendation from the advisory board for the board's consideration of putting some additional monies, $5 or $10 million, whatever the board feels appropriate, to assist in the reclamation project that's being developed over in the Delta region. That project is probably a $100 million project they're looking at for recapturing water, reuse of water, development of the area, which is an economic development program that they're looking at. So besides the $168 million, and if there's any other projects the board wishes to put on there, those are the numbers that we have at this time. Moving forward on the estimated cost from the financial advisors based on today's current market, they're looking that if we move forward and the board considers and we do have an approval on the bond, that there would be an increase of close to 2 cents or a little under 2 cents for the sale of the $68 million. We would be looking at a referendum in November and potentially selling bonds sometime in February of next year. If we were to sell the full $168 million, you would be looking at a potential increase of about 5 cents in the whole bond issuance of the program. We do not feel that at this time we would consider selling the $168 million. What we're looking at as a $100 million approval is to try to get the bridge loan from the Texas Water Development Board to move the project forward. But without a bond resolution authorizing that, we cannot even apply for that loan coming forward.
And we have to make it, do the 168.
Through the resolution would be the approval of 168, but the issuance of only $68 million at this time because it's the only debt that we would be incurring. The other $1 million is a guarantee on the loan that we would be procuring from the Water Development Board of the state, tied into the money coming back from the WRDA law for recapturing of the money for the Raymondville drain.
All right.
And there are some attachments also in there from legal counsel, from bond counsel, excuse me, that give some parameters as to when the board would have to consider calling a bond election, and also some parameters in the language that would be associated in the two referendums. One would be for $68 million, the other one for $100 million, and giving the advisory board with this commission, with this board of directors, the latitude to address that $100 million as a program develops out.
You have an attached breakdown to this as far as $110 million?
Yes, sir. On the first page, we have a breakdown of each one of the projects, Commissioner. And it details, if you wish, I can go through each one of them, sir, or?
Sure.
Basically, the first project is a J09, which is excavation, structure, and right-of-way acquisition for about $5 million. This is a project in precinct number 4 that we've been working on for probably about 2.5 to 3 years, which is the interception of water coming in from the McCook area to divert them into our major drain. We've expended money, the precinct expended money in the development and some of the construction of the project to date. Project number 2, the Raymondville drain, excavation, structure, and right-of-way acquisition, it's got a ticket of about $110 million. Again, the $100 million is related to the securing of the bond issuance with the loan from the Water Development Board. The additional $10 million is for whatever land acquisition we would need to move the project forward while we're getting the land acquisition, the construction dollars in place. The mission lateral, basically items 4, 5, 6, 6, are going in there and building additional structures where our drain ditches tie into the main channels. What happens is that our whole system is developed in which we anticipate an event or a rain event through the whole county. What's happened in the past, we're such a large county, we could have 5 inches of rain in Mission or in McAllen. They're flooded, but the rest of our system didn't get any rain, and thus we're only carrying 2-3 foot of water. What we want to do is have the ability to open up gates to let Mission or McAllen or any entity that's had an event utilize the system to the full extent. We feel this is the biggest bang for our dollar, instead of trying to expand or widen the channels that we have now, but to start monitoring and using implementation of gates to move those projects forward. Under item 7, the Mission Inlet recertification, we have a drainage system that used to be the old floodway that came from the river from basically Ansel Lewis Dam that impacted McAllen and Mission during Beulah. That floodway is no longer a federal floodway. It is under the control of Hidalgo County. What happens is we have probably over 1,000 acres through that whole strip that is still designated as a floodway. What we're looking at is releasing all of those lands through that area there and just maintaining a 350-foot channel, which is what we need for our drainage, and taking all of the people in developments that are paying flood insurance off of it and taking that property onto the tax rolls, which would probably be, I don't know, maybe $1 billion worth of property, because we have a corridor right through the major industrial sector, development sector, the airport sector that is useless and is based probably at $500 an acre, that is all ag land, which could be taken out and put into productive use right now. And I couldn't tell you how many millions of dollars are paid in flood insurance, because that whole floodway itself is situated as a Zone A. So all the developments going through there have been paying flood insurance since 1938 or 1950 when it came through. So this program itself will also generate some dollars back, because under the agreements that we have, anytime we release a piece of land, the landowner has to pay the district or the county, whoever owns that property or the easement, the fair market value of that particular easement. In the past, we've released some, and it's come in at $3,000 to $5,000 an acre. So we anticipate there's going to be a big revenue also to the county, into the district, because some of those easements are not owned just by Hidalgo County Drainage District, they're also owned by Hidalgo County, because they were acquired through the federal government, or for the federal government, 50, 60 years ago. So I believe that's a major project that needs to be looked at. Under Project 8, 9, 10 are again improvements to lateral structures and also putting pump structure along the levee. One of the items that we got hit real hard when we had a major event several years back is that we had all this water that came up against the levee, and we couldn't get the water out because the floodway was full. So what we're looking at is developing probably about 10 or 15 pump structures along the levee to assist in moving water over. One of the items we're going to do is similar to the project that was done in Precinct 1, where the gate structures are put in, the pipe structures are put in, but the pumps aren't installed. Basically, they're portable pumps you come in and just hook up, so we just can move those pumps throughout the whole boundaries and not have an investment of whatever, $20 or $30 million of pumps sitting there for 5 years or 10 years. And if we do need to rent pumps, all you do is rent the pumps. You don't have to go in there and argue with the IBWC or any other entity, well, we've got to put hoses down, we've got to put this down, we don't have enough hoses. So everything is there that you just slide your trailer in, plug it in, and operates. Commissioner Quintanilla has got one structure already operational like that, and we're not going to reinvent it. We're using the same type of design, the same type of structure to move it forward, and that way these pumps can be universal moving up and down the system. And then, as I said, then we go back into item 21, which is the radar drain reroute. We have a culvert that was installed in there probably 20 years ago or 40 years ago that we have some issues on it that we have to reconstruct it. We've met with the city of McAllen. We've also looked at some issues on the reconstruction of it, on liability, not liability. But whoever's liability is, that structure needs to be reconstructed because of the problems we're having there. So that is one of the projects that we have delineated down here. Then we have the Rural Drainage Development Program for about $10 million. What we're hoping to do is work with the precincts and look at areas that are being impacted right now that maybe we can dig a small ditch, maybe we can put a structure or pipe to try to assist in some of these pockets of drainage problems that we have out there. It's not a lot of money, but it is money for $2.5 million more or less per precinct, but that'll be up to the commissioners to move forward on, but at least it keeps the movement of the projects going in. Then we have a weir system rehabilitation of about $3 million. As y'all are aware, and unfortunately we've had issues with weirs that we've had collapses on. We've got a study in place. We're looking at about $3 million to try to reconstruct some of these weirs that are in worse shape. than others to try to make sure that we have control and we don't have a major failure and then get stuck with coming up with $1 million, $2 million for each one of the weirs. The preemptive measure, we know that they need to be worked on, and this is what we're trying to do with that money.
How long will that money, how far will it take us as far as for the weir system? You know, as far as replacement, being proactive, you know?
This will repair the weir that we have pending, Commissioner. These $3 million will give us the repairs that we need on the 10 weirs that are indicating they're in need of repairs at this time.
You said 10?
Yes, sir. It's about $300,000 per weir.
Godfrey,
Once
how
they
old-
fail, the ticket goes up to $1.5 million, $2 million. Yes, sir.
How old are those weirs?
How old are those weirs? They were built starting in 1980, Commissioner. So we're looking at 30-some-odd years on these structures. Like even on roads and bridges, they have a life expectancy on them. And again, we need to maintain them and start putting care into the system.
So should we have like a replacement program in effect, other than just, I know you're trying to be proactive and you've
Yes, sir.
already identified 10.
What we're finding out, Commissioner, is that the system worked fine, okay? But as we started growing, more continuous water started getting into the system than what they were designed for. So that's where we're having problems with them. It's not that they're failing because just to fail, they're failing because they're not serving what they were originally intended to do. They were intended to carry a foot of water and then sometimes carry 8 foot of water, but every so often.
But on this here, we do spend this 168 million. If we have a 100-year event, it's still going to flood.
Oh, yes, sir. Even Houston, it spends hundreds of millions of dollars.
No matter what we do, we're still going to get flooded. We get
No
100.
matter what we do, what we're trying to develop is to give the best usage of the system we have in here to move the 4 inches of rain, to move the 5 inches of rain. But if we get a 5-inch rain event through all of Hidalgo County, you're gonna have problems. As simple as that.
It's going to be able to be moved.
It'll be moved quicker. And unfortunately, you say, okay, well, we're gonna move the water out now in 60 days instead of 90 days, or we're gonna move it out in 30 days instead of 120 days. We're just trying to move the water out quicker. And I understand when you're flooded, you're flooded. No matter if you're flooded for 2 hours, 1 hour, you're flooded. And again, as we continue growing, the issue will continue. And this is very important also to consider, and I know the people from the RMA coming before y'all shortly, is that they're gonna be a major impact on this system also. There's coordination going on with the RMA right now as to how we're gonna partner or what they're gonna have to build to not negatively impact the system that we have. Because our system is designed for rural developments, it's designed for slow runoff, not putting in 50 miles of roadway into your system within 10 minutes. There's gonna be some major impacts. There's gonna be some major detention facilities that they're gonna have to construct. There's gonna be some partnerships of right-of-ways, of drain ditches to be dug. It is an ongoing program that we have to look at. Moving on to item 24, which is a system acquisition, I'm proposing that the board consider putting $10 million back in acquiring projects that this Commissioner's Court has done. There's detention ponds that have been dug, there's drain ditches that have been dug, there's structures that have been built by the county that it is a responsibility of the district to have. And I'm recommending that y'all consider putting $10 million to buy these assets back from the county and give them to the district. The county probably has $30 or $40 million expended out of your COs into these drainage programs, which are the responsibility of the district.
Why are you holding 10 million?
Sir?
Why do you want to hold 10 million?
Commissioner, 20 million is better. $30 million is great. $40 million pays everybody off. I feel what we can present to the taxpayer without being a full burden to them at one time. Hopefully in the future, the economy picks up and there's another bond issue 10 years, 20 years from now. But $10 million is just a number. It could have been 5, it could have been 1, but I felt $10 million is a significant impact for the Commissioner's Court or the county itself. I think Precinct 4 has probably spent $30 million themselves. I think you've probably spent 20. I think Commissioner over there has spent probably another 10 to 15. Commissioner Florida's another 10. It could be $40, $50 million out there.
What's going to, if we ever get reimbursed from the levies, those $50 million?
Where's it going to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, those $50 million will go back into buying assets of what the drainage district or the county has done, and it's going to go back to be spent on the projects that were referred to in the bond issuance. It's not to go put other projects, and I think that's why y'all been very careful, Commissioner, when y'all do a project, that y'all follow the master plan that the district has, because those are assets that the district, if they had the money, would have gone and built.
Judge and Commissioners, and basically, we're looking at as a revolving doors. There's been a lot of work that we've been doing. I know the Colonia Advocacy Group was talking about a lot of this bond deals, not directing or not focusing on Colonia needs, which in fact, the county's been doing that regularly on a monthly basis, figuring out more outfalls on some of the structures we need. The buyback on turning these structures over, the drainage structures, will allow us to focus on the infrastructure, future infrastructure that we continue to see that are in need, whether it's roadway infrastructure or drainage infrastructure. So the county, and I know my predecessor did a great job in getting ahead of it. We're looking to continue to build towards that, to continue to focus on those other areas. So working hand in hand. As the drainage focuses on macro projects, we're looking at the micro ones that make the significant difference for the taxpayer as well.
And those micro projects that y'all focus on, Commissioner, have an impact on our project.
Right.
So we have to work hand in hand to make sure there's not an overburden on one side or the other. I think the Raymondville drain is going to relieve the eastern side of Hidalgo County tremendously. We will be taking all the water from basically 281 west north. It will no longer go and impact the east, which gives them a tremendous relief and gives a tremendous growth potential to the west side. I think it's one of the most important projects that we have on our books that has been on the federal books, I think, 1958. So this is not, we're not creating, we keep moving. These projects are long-term projects, and if we don't get a handle on them now, the price tag just keeps going up and up and up.
With these monies, are we going to be able to address the I guess criticism is the word, but when we took those monies from the $100 million bond issue that were destined for the Delta area projects, and we used them to, in the area that we did, up in the McAllen Mission area, are these monies, some of them going to be used to work on these projects that we did not work because we diverted these funds?
Yes, they are, Judge. And also, in speaking to that respect, Commissioner Quintanilla was very motivated or very outspoken on the recovery money that came in and fought very heavily for the recovery money on the east side to the tune of probably $11 to $14 million.
14.1.
And that was federal money. Part of the money that was spent on the levees was going to go to the east side. It might not have been the same pocket, but it's the money from the federal government is now being interjected on the east side. On the west side, which is the Peñitas drain, Commissioner Flores again pushed very hard to get money for the Peñitas drain, which was part of those $60 million that was spent on the levee, coming in from another pocket of federal money. So there are two projects that are being federally funded directly from the federal government as part of those $60 million that we spend on the levees. That we want to give credit or not credit, that's up to the board. But federal dollars are federal dollars. We came forward and worked on the levees. We were able to recover some of that money. If the board considers that to work on these two projects, then we're part of the bond issuance. Whatever additional money we get, if we're able to talk to the IBWC and get them to assist in them on the pump structure on the floodway system, that's a recovery of money that we're going to use bond issuance money to work on. To me, it doesn't matter where the pot of money comes from, it's just to get the job done and relieve the taxpayer as much as possible on it.
Besides the Raymondville drain, which one of these projects is going to be work being done that'll directly benefit the Delta area?
Basically, your pump structures, your Weslaco drains. You've got your Weslaco North Lateral, which is item 16. You've got 17, the East Donna drain, 18, the Weslaco drain, South Mercedes drain 19, Mercedes Lateral. All of these are interceptors to keep the water from going up to the Delta area.
All right.
The Raymondville drain will probably be the biggest one because the Delta area is impacted by our main floodway on the north side.
They all impact.
When you take the western water, guess what, Delta? You have the ditch now.
We sit on top of hills, so
Oh,
everything
you're very fortunate, Commissioner. You're on the backside of what you've got, and what helps you out also is that a lot of the sheet flow comes north.
Yeah.
Mission has spent a lot of money also on drainage on their laterals. You've got a lot of systems that go down to the river that nobody else has. So your water from the north side is going northeast. What's going to be a major impact to your area is going to be some Mission Inlet.
Yeah.
The reconstruction, recertifying of that is a major drainage and a major economic issues and a major relief to the citizens that are paying flood insurance in that area.
What do you need from us today, just to?
What I need from the board for consideration is basically saying, yes, we support this program. We're not asking for an official action, but I do need to come back to the board with an official action because the board has got to take the action of calling an election by August 20th in order for us to have a general election.
All right.
So between now and August, we have to have an item on the board's consideration for approval to move forward with a bond referendum.
As I
Godfrey, which
understand
is-
it, I'm sorry, Commissioner. I was going to ask, as I understand it, the 25-member Citizen Advisory Committee is unanimously supporting it.
Yes, sir. They submitted an approval to this Commissioners Court recommending these projects originated from them in discussion with the elected officials and the whole body that was there. Mr. Jim Darling, which is co-chair, came before this board and recommended these projects for y'all to consider, and also for y'all to take into consideration some additional funds, maybe $5 million, $4 million, directly for the Delta area into the recovery program that they're looking at. So it's this project plus whatever this board wishes to put on there, maybe $5 million or $10 million for the Delta.
Which is the line item that carries a project in La
It
Vega?
doesn't carry it, sir. That's a separate item. What
For
the
Vega?
advisory board said, we have no problem recommending it. It's in a letter that was sent to this board, asking y'all, based on the request of the mayor, to support them, to help move forward and allow the district, whatever y'all wish, to move the recovery program forward.
So where is
I'm
it
in support for
specified?
It's not, sir. It will be specified in the bond referendum when we have the list of
Not in this-
projects.
Not in this.
Can
I
you
just need a dollar number.
Can you just tell the public what a 2-cent increase will mean for a $100,000 house or 50?
I have First Southwest here, Judge, that would probably give you a better answer. I can give you the dollar figures, but what that would be on the valuation. Let's see, Chris? Do we have the valuation of what a 2-cent increase would be on a
Say $100,000 home.
Right.
700,000?
On a $100,000 home, figure it
On a
out,
$100,000 home. Give him a second.
$20.
$20?
$20?
$20 a year, about $1.67. You've got a very good computer up there, Commissioner.
All right,
That's what a 2-cent increase would be.
very good, sir. And
Again, I would ask this board to give me direction on what would y'all consider for the Delta area.
we're not voting, but I mean, if you're trying to get a consensus, we're approving.
You got my support.
And you got my support.
Let me look at two numbers, and then I'll present it officially to the board in the action of a potential $5 million or $8 million. See what we can capitalize the most on. There's no use in putting in $10 million when $5 million will get us to where we need to go.
Good.
But I'll report that to
We
the
also
board.
want to make sure that the public is aware that out of this $168 million, the county is only going to be obligated to pay back 68.
That is correct, sir.
The 100 million will be paid for by the government. That's what
Yes, sir.
that's why I feel like this is really something we need to do and do now.
And again, the recommendation for the board is going to be, do we have two referendums, one for the 68 and one for the $100 million? Do we have one for 168? That way the voters have the option if they want to do the local drainage or if they need to do the Rainville drain, or we can put it all together in one.
Just to let you know, we did meet with the Texas General Land Office last week, and very productive meeting, and there may be a possibility to receive some additional funding. So,
Very
just to let
good.
you know,
All for drainage, right, sir?
That's correct. That is correct.
All right, sir, anything else on that?
That's it on that particular item, Judge.
I don't know, the commissioners want to make their statement.
Yeah, I'm in complete support of it. I think that obviously drainage continues to be a major need. Obviously, there's going to be a benefit. We've just been benefit, we've grown so big. Our systems need this, we need the adequate drainage. We're going to continue building systems, but we got to work hand in hand together with the drainage district somehow to figure out how we can focus on the smaller projects versus the larger projects. And I think if we continue to do that as we're doing,
Yes, sir.
I think it produce a successful model and making sure the taxpayer knows that we're out there working for them. So
I think we've got a very good working model in working with the county itself coming forward and looking at the needs. You answer to the constituents that are out there.
Right.
And y'all have decided to work with the drainage district and taking our bond program and looking at the drainage needs. And again, I enjoy the working relationship that the district has with y'all as Commissioners Court, because again, Commissioner, y'all are looking at the inside of the colonias. We, the district, have to look at the larger picture to move everybody's water out. But whatever a city can do or a precinct can do to get the water to our system, that's when we can react better to.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the support for on this whole court on the drainage system.
Yes, sir. Do you need to, are we getting into the budget?
Yes, sir. What I'd like, and it's preliminary discussion on the district's proposed budget for 2013. Judge, Commissioner, what I have understood that we're trying to do is to try to maintain the same budget that we had for last year. And I believe that's what our intention is in the program that we're presenting to this board, except for one change, or two, excuse me. One is that we've got a potential increase in the payments of our existing bond issuance, about, I think it's $200 and some odd thousand. But I think that will be offset with, we had some increase in the valuations, about $300 million. So I think that's going to balance out. So I don't have an issue in staying with the same budget. What I would like for the board to consider is the creation of 6 new slots for the district, which would be all shredders. Okay?
Shredders?
Just shredders. Because we're taking on mileage from precinct 1, we're taking mileage on from precinct 4, we're going to take mileage on from precinct number 3, and some mileage from yours, Commissioner. So we're not asking for supervisors, we're not asking for administration, we're asking for people that are out there in the field working, and that particular item would have an impact to our budget. Where's it at, Mark? If you look on the last page, on the bottom, total additional expenses for consideration for 2013 budget would be $992,540. The majority of that would be the equipment impact at one time. About almost $600,000 of that would be impacting to buy the shredders, and it's a one-time situation. The rest would be the impact of our salary employees, which would come out to about, with fringe benefits and everything, $237,000.
Where are these employees, are these new?
New employees.
New employees?
New employees, sir. And basically, it would be shredder operators that we put out in the field. It's not supervisors, it is.
You know, I definitely see the need and would definitely support that, Mr. Garza. You know, it's huge. You know, our precinct works on drainage every day. Every day. You know,
And one of the items we would like for the board to consider also, we had originally started with area facility supervisors, and I think the scope is changing, that I believe those need to be actual supervisors to work within the areas that we've got. And that is something, again, the board needs to consider in the future. And these would not be active till 2013, based on when the budget is approved. So otherwise, we're maintaining all our salaries. We're not having any increases between now and whenever the budget is approved. If there is some change, we'll take issue to those changes. But right now, we're maintaining the same budget, and all we're asking for is a potential creation of those shredder slots.
Very good, sir.
And again, we're not requesting an action, it's just some consideration from the board.
Right.
So as we work our budget, we can come forward with it to you.
All
So
right.
if there's no issue on that, that's the way we'll interpret it on the potential creation of those 6 shredder slots.
That concludes your presentation.
That concludes my
I
presentation,
would need a
Judge.
motion to adjourn our workshop.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, Judge, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. Balde?
At 11.
Okay, I've got it. I've got it. At this time, we would convene the workshop, the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court workshop for today, July 17, 2012, that was set for 11 o'clock this morning. Present are Commissioners Flores and Commissioner Palacios and myself. We have a quorum. And the first item on the workshop is presentation and discussion of Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority projects. Thank you.
Judge, Commissioners, we're before you here this morning. We do have several of the RMA board members here. We have a quorum present, but we do not have any action by the RMA board posted, but we are here very definitely to want your your input and your consent to move forward. Over the last few months, we have hired, of course, the general engineering consultant to oversee our total program, hired the consultants, environmental and engineering consultants we need to further our design on particularly our initial project and further projects. We've been under negotiation with TxDOT to solidify the $112 million TxDOT contribution to our building program. That's to be approved at the next TxDOT Commission meeting, which I believe is July 26th in Corpus Christi, and all of y'all are invited to come and be part of that. With that introduction, I'd like to bring on Louis Jones with Dannenbaum Engineering to basically lay out what the next steps are, and then First Southwest is here for us also to tell you what we need to actually make this program happen instead of it just being a plan.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm Louis Jones, for the record, Dannenbaum Engineering and Program Manager for the RMA. We've been in front of you several times over the last few months. Several months ago, the board approved a 8-year strategy to develop State Highway 365, which used to be called TCC, as well as the IBTC, and further the planning on Segment D, which would take us north of Edinburgh, and we're moving forward on that strategy. We've hired all of the engineers to get going on that strategy, and environmental people are working. We're revamping some of our funding with TxDOT, and we are continually working on upgrading our TNR studies to make sure from the financial picture that we stay financially sound. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to First Southwest, and they can go through a few of the slides we have here today. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Richard Ramirez with First Southwest. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, sir.
Commissioners. I think this morning we're trying to simplify the ask from the court, and being a workshop, we're not certainly seeking for any action, but wanted to come back to you in the next week or so and get your approval, just to consent to let us leverage the vehicle registration fees. What the purpose of that is to help us get started and incur development costs, purchase a right-of-way, pay off the line for the existing bank line that we have at this point, and allow the RMA to move forward with both the development of SH 365, as Louis said, formerly TCC, and the IBTC project. We have listed on page 2 what those funds would be used for, as I just summarized a while ago. But plain and simple, the objective for the RMA is to get the projects ready and to start within a year, once we have environmental clearance, to start on State Highway 65. The thing that is important to note is that we have becoming more and more funds are becoming available either through the state or from federal assistance. However, to take advantage of of that assistance, we have to have the projects cleared environmentally and basically shovel ready. So in all, this leveraging the vehicle registration fee, we're not asking the county to provide any sort of backstop or any assistance from a credit standpoint for the vehicle registration fees.
Before you begin to make your case, can you just tell me or tell us how much and how long?
In terms of the vehicle registration fees,
right. How much money are you going to be borrowing or using, and how long will it take
for
us to let you use it?
Sir, the contemplated structure right now would be to issue $30 million as soon as possible once we receive your approval, and then another $27 million approximately the following year, And that would be a total of 57 million, and that basically is, I think, a 30 years, 30 or 35? Yeah, 30-year structure.
All right.
And we're only going to be using the registration fee?
Yes, sir, for the development and initially for some of the construction. We would anticipate them coming back at some point in time when we do the financing for the toll revenue bonds that are primarily supported by TxDOT. That would be done probably in later part of 2013 or 2014.
And what are
Probably.
you going to be asking for there? The county support for selling some bonds or what?
For the toll revenue bond, the county support would be to provide credit assistance, but not to really do anything other than to use your credit. We believe the coverages and the support from TxDOT, are basically TxDOT reimbursements for a 365, will cover most of the costs, and then the rest will be covered from the toll revenues, so that your leverage, you won't be affected from a tax standpoint unless there would be something that would obviously go wrong.
Exactly, like the economy.
If something does go wrong, are the taxpayers of the county going to be liable?
Yes.
Yes, sir, ultimately, that's correct. But I think once we show you that plan and see what our objective would be to make it where you never have to do that, to provide enough coverage, that you have room for revenues to not come in as planned, and not, I can tell you in terms of the numbers that we've run, that amount would not be more than $1 million in any 1 year, but certainly ways to mitigate that, to be able to increase tolls. That's something that you probably won't have to face if you ever have to do that in 2019 or 20.
So when are we going to see that plan? When are we going to see that plan?
The money, the vehicle registration fee money would be immediately. We would probably in 90 days or so, as quickly as we could go to the market.
No, but the actual plan of action, you're asking us to support this project, which is fine, but an actual plan of action saying, this is why the liability will be minimal, this is our plan of action, this is where we're headed.
We have preliminary numbers. We've been discussing those with the county's FAs. We pretty much, we have a preliminary run. However, we're having all of the TNR, the traffic and revenue numbers, updated, as well as fine-tuning some of the costs. That's something that we continually work on. The updated traffic and revenue numbers will not be ready until September.
And how long will this project take?
I can let Louis.
Right now, we're looking at 18 to 24 months to clear the environmental, and if we can get the funding in place with this leverage, we should be able to have the engineering done around that time, so we could, I think the strategy says we would start construction on State Highway 365 sometime mid to end of 2014 and have it open in 2016.
Okay, meanwhile, while you start getting the money in, how are we going to pay that money back?
The money that we're using to do that, to get through that,
project.
well, right now, we would be using the vehicle restoration fee to do that. Right now, we've been cash flowing with the vehicle restoration fee, paying as we go, but if we leverage that, it would be paid by the vehicle restoration fee.
For the first, say, 24 months?
Yes, maybe 36 at the most.
You're going to have to pay the interest at least, or the payments, even though it's not.
Judge, Commissioners, the ask that we're asking for you now is for the plans that would be necessary, whether these roads are toll roads, whether they're non-toll roads, whether we ever were going to ask for any accounting assistance. Even in the torturous political environment that we're in right now, the Congress and President acted on a highway bill. There are some things moving forward. There are other sources of funds, both federal and state, that we tend to seek out. That I think the idea of trying to see exactly what this road's going to cost and exactly what the profit and loss on it is from tolls, that's a decision that's 2 to 3 years out. If we don't do the work that we need to do now with the vehicle registration fee, we'll never get to that decision point. The Falfurrias overpasses that are being built right now are a great project, but that was money that was meant for Hidalgo County. That money was meant to be here, could have been part of our program, could have been part of TxDOT FAR's program, but there weren't projects of that size ready to be built. If we don't get these projects ready, we'll never get them built, no matter whether they're tolled, non-tolled, you know, and so none of the money that we're spending out of this $57 million is wasted, but if we don't spend it, we're never going to build it.
No, I understand that.
I was under the impression, Dennis, that you were going to be requesting us that we go ahead and go along and authorize the use of this vehicle registration fees, and that, I mean, if anything, that's all we were going to be doing, that we would never be would never be required to tap into any tax general fund dollars, no matter what happens out there to the project.
Oh, it's only if the economy falls off, you know, I mean, the bottom falls.
That is true for the vehicle registration fees. And potentially, if we get enough federal dollars or TxDOT dollars on the other project, you may not need it on, we may not need any sort of county credit on the 365. We just can't make that promise right now, but you will be, at that time, you will be able to vote on it. You're not voting at this point to provide that credit assistance at this point.
Well, I understand that, but my question is what the judge just commented. I understand that you're saying that we will not be liable at this point, but we may be liable at some point.
No, only if you decide in the future, not today.
Well,
you'll be another plan.
If something happens a year, 2 years from now, and the liability still falls back on the county, correct?
If you sell the bonds. When you sell
When you sell the toll revenue bonds. But before we sell toll revenue bonds, you will have that decision to make, whether you want to do
What if the
that.
county would say no to it? Would you be
We
able
would
to do it?
we would find a way to do it without the county support. It's not absolutely necessary at this point.
And do you think you can find it out there right now?
Well, that's probably for the next 2 or 3 months we get toll. We know exactly what the numbers are.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that we may find it.
But then you would have to sell to private sectors or what?
That's one option. It's not the option that we would be looking at
Yeah.
because with the passage of the reauthorization bill, there's now the federal government will provide 49% of the loans. We intend to submit a letter of interest as soon as possible. Our project would qualify. So there's things that are happening that have happened in the last few weeks that have made certainly funding the project much more feasible than we had before.
Over the 30-year period that you're requesting, the county's going to be investing approximately, what, 120 to 150, depending on the increase through the years, on the amount of vehicle registration monies that come in. And so that I think is a very substantial sum that the county will be investing into the project if we decide to do that route. And in addition to that, you're suggesting that there's a possibility that we may still be needing to come up with general fund dollars up to the point of about $1 million, you indicate, in the event the project goes bad.
In the event there's toll revenues are way below whatever the consultant projects, you know, that is the reason for the credit support. But like I said, at this point, there is a possibility we may not even go there.
Well, that would certainly be something that I would look forward to seeing, that possibility to be eliminated of the county being required to tap into general revenue, general fund balance monies.
I think it'll be important for you, important for all of us, that when we have all of the numbers basically tied down in terms of what the total revenue projections are going to be revised to, we have a better idea once we submit bids for as a cost, how much funding we get, that you will be completely comfortable and understand exactly what the risk is for the county, if any.
You know, I understand everything out there is a risk, you know, but I know I understand we need to build it, but I mean, we need to at least get more input from y'all and let the RMA members come to us and ask us, not made some comments out there. I've heard there've been some comments out there that they don't really need our support. That was way before this started.
I can tell you we view that, and at least the current folks we're dealing with, and I'm dealing with the RMA, we view the county as a partner. It's absolutely necessary to have the county, go along with us and to know everything that we know and to be able to make decisions along with the RMA.
You know, and I understand that, but you don't keep your partner in the dark. You know, you come in and you present and you make sure we're on the same tune, same line.
You know, as you can see, I mean, we work closely with TxDOT. Precinct 3 has gotten over $100 million of project in the last 12 years. I mean, I'm easy to work with. They need to come. I mean, Dennis can come. He works with me real closely, but there's some members in there that think they don't need us. And I think they do, because we're the elected officials. If something falls, you know, the economy goes bad, it's going to come back to us, not to them. That's the way I feel about it.
I understand, sir.
If I may make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I know we keep focusing on the action item is to allow the RMA to utilize the vehicle registration fee. At the end of the day, I know we appoint the board members. That vehicle registration fee is being paid by the taxpayer.
Correct.
And I think that's an important thing to note. I know our caution is utilizing county coffers, but at the end of the day, they're our tax base nonetheless. So from a public standpoint, there's gonna be a lot of people aren't fully aware of the benefits of what we're about to build. We're about to make a decision to allow the vehicle registration fee to be utilized to sell bonds. Well, it's important that we, from a communication standpoint and outreach standpoint, that people are comfortable with our decision at the end of the day, because it's their money at the end of the day. And that's the part that I focus on all the time. It's the taxpayer still. Regardless of how we got it, at the end of the day, someone paid for it. And so that's why I'm very cautious. I know I attended a meeting up in Austin with some of the RMA board members. I was happy to be there. It was enlightening to see former Chairman DeLisi explain how it's different these days, how TxDOT works with partners like RMAs and counties to buy into the system. That's the only way we're going to get our projects shovel-ready and to be able to receive funds, as you're saying. And so I agree there has to be a good enough balance. But at the end of the day, the most important element for us that we deal with is the public perception aspect of it. And we need to make sure that the taxpayer, at the end of the day, as they're paying it, and they're reading the columns that Jared's going to be producing probably tomorrow, that they're comfortable that we made the right decision. And I just want to shed light to that, because we don't get enough time to express that.
Judge Commissioners, the strategic plan that we brought to you that y'all concurred on, and we hopefully that's the start of the roadway system that you think needs to happen for the county for economic development. The vehicle registration fee borrowing sets the groundwork to execute that over an 8-year period. If we can't find any more state money and we can't find any more federal money to supplement, to substitute for what we might want to ask the county for 2 or 3 years from now, you know, that's a setback. And if the county says no, then we look to execute that 8-year plan over a 12-year plan, over a 12-year time period or a 15-year time period. The RMA doesn't intend to stop whether we get more federal money, state money, or county credit support. It's just the speed at which we can start to deliver new construction. So, and I'd love to have all those answers of the questions that are going to come up 2 or 3 years from now, but the economy, interest rates, construction costs, all of those kinds of things can change between now and then, and so bringing you every fact today might be difficult, because the real decision point 3 years from now might be different than it is today, and I know that uncertainty bothers public officials and everybody.
More than it came to us 12 years ago. I mean, it would have been go sit, you know.
Sure, y'all been very supportive.
Right now, it's not the time, you know, we need to see what we're doing.
But the vehicle registration fee work that we're going to be doing to get the preliminary design, environmental clearance, try to figure out the drainage of these highways, the utility relocation. That work has to occur whether, no matter what happens, no matter if we ever come back to the county or not. And hopefully y'all, and we're happy to have First Southwest and Dannenbaum come to you individually to answer your questions, whatever forum that you need.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, with all respect
Sure.
to you, I don't think that's the question. At this point, you're asking for our support. I think we're all aware of that. I do believe we all want this project to come to fruition. But at the same time, I don't see the working relationship being there. Either we're together or we're not, is the way I feel. We're asking us to partner up, and like I mentioned a while ago, you don't keep your partner in the dark. You're coming forward to us to support this project, which I'm okay with, but at the same time, I know you cannot provide us with information that would impact our Hidalgo County 10 years from now, 12 years from now. But you can provide us with information today and for tomorrow. And that's one thing that I see that we're lacking. I've asked for a proposed plan of action. I've not received it. We should be meeting every other month. Either we're partners or we're not. Commissioner Flores raised a real good issue right now, that basically his sentiment to the board, my respects to that, but it's really not so much about that either, in my opinion. It's more where we're headed. You're asking this Commissioner's Court to make a decision to support this project, tie up our vehicle registration fees, for the next 30 years, whatever the amount is. But at the same time, I don't see that communication. If you're going to ask me to support something, provide me with information to where I can make a good, sound decision and say, this is where our county needs to go. Because eventually, and my respects to everyone here, I do feel we'll be liable, and convince me that we're not.
Commissioner, I understand the issues there. We had planned to start a public outreach program in the next few months, and one of that is going to be meeting with the commissioners on a regular basis, making sure they understand where we're headed, getting their input, because at the end of the day, we're serving your constituents. And so we've got to make sure that what we're doing is in approval with where you guys want us to go. The strategic plan that we approved, based on the facts that we know today, the TNR studies that have been completed previously, we have a plan outlined, and we can get you the details of that to show you what the financing plan looks like, the construction, the engineering plan, to move both State Highway 365 and IBTC forward. We have that, and we've presented it once, but we could go ahead and present it to each one of the commissioners individually to make sure you understand it. We're moving forward on that. We have all of the engineers in place, the environmental people in place. It just takes some time. We did back up somewhat so we could make sure that we had a financially constrained strategic plan. We do have that today, based on the numbers that we know at that point in time. We can develop 365 and we can get IBTC shovel ready. Now, we're upgrading our TNR numbers to see if there's been any changes in that, but today, based on our data, that's what we show, and we're moving forward to that. And we do apologize if we've not kept the commissioners informed as much as we should have, but we will begin that process and make sure that happens.
Well, I do want to thank you all, because I was invited by the RMA and a couple of members to go up to Austin. I know from the judge's office, we did have Bobby there as well. So I do want to thank the RMA board for the invitation. It shed a lot of light into the real issues, and I appreciate it. I know you've all done your part to inform us.
Judge, I have a question. I understand the RMA has issued bonds and pledged the motor vehicle registration fee. I don't understand how you can pledge it
They're gonna
again.
go ahead
It's
and
already
pay
been
'em back,
pledged.
no? First night,
No,
you
they
owe
can,
first night?
legally they can, at least that's what we've been told.
Well, but I think they've already issued bonds and pledged the motor vehicle fee.
We've got a lawyer here who probably can tell you in better language than I have. There's an agreement currently in place the RMA has a borrowing, and there's an agreement currently in place that the county will not disturb the vehicle registration fee until that debt's paid. What we're asking for is a new agreement that is similar to that. The County Commissioners Court, through the appointment of its members, and if you come down with an edict, depending on legal agreements and one thing and the other, that says use every dollar that you get from the vehicle registration fees to pay your debt, don't spend it anywhere else, the RMA has to comply with that. But you're right, we can't pledge it. You can pledge it that you won't cut us off.
No, but my question is, you already pledged it once. I don't think you can pledge it again. I mean, it's already been pledged. You have already sold bonds.
Well, we're going to pay off the debt that.
Oh, you're going to pay it off and then
original
issue a
debt
new
was
bond?
paid.
Okay.
That's the first thing on that second paragraph.
Okay,
right?
I'm sorry. All right.
Dennis, what do you think about to address this issue of communication? Perhaps another one of those joint meetings that we've had in the past.
We'd love to do that. The strategic plan, this whole effort is always constantly in motion. We're spending money with our total and revenue consultants to revamp those. That information won't be available for several months. And there is always some unknowns in this, but yes, we'd like to come back before you in workshop form, however often you want. If you'd rather have our team visit the judge and the commissioners one-on-one, we can do that too. We're ready.
I think a joint meeting would be more appropriate and probably a lot more practical.
And I realize this about the third time I've asked for it, but to separate the preliminary work that has to be done on highway projects, Commissioner Palacios and Precinct 3 and Mission have had great success because they stepped out there and did a couple of $1 million worth of engineering work, and you had something concrete. Well, yes, the Precinct 3 will give all the credit, but you spent a couple of $1 million and you had something concrete to take TxDOT and says, here, I'm ready to build this, are you ready to fund it? And TxDOT says yes. If we spend money as we have the vehicle registration coming in, it'll take us 3 years to get this preliminary work on 365. That's kind of our deadline on getting the project completed. We need to move faster if we're ever going to ask anybody for any more money. And that's a necessity.
So how soon do you think we could have this joint meeting?
We're ready 2 weeks, a month. We're ready.
Dennis, on the
Yes.
present agreement, how long do we have those registration fees pledged?
I think, Commissioner Flotis, we're due to pay that off in like 7 years. It was a 10-year loan originally, and we've been paying 3 years.
So you need an additional 20-some
years? It is 23 years. They've been very conservative on how much of the vehicle registration fee is actually obligated to pay the debt.
Generate how much a month?
So,
a year?
I mean,
$4 something. $4 million something.
we could pay it faster if we dedicated every dollar to it, but we've been kind of hoping to have a little money to pay staff with. And
So rounding it off in 30 years, about $120 million that registration fee is going to generate?
To 150.
120?
Yes.
It all depends on the growth of the.
Right.
But, and I don't have those figures in front of me, maybe Richard does, but I don't think all of the $120 million is dedicated to debt service. I think we only basically are borrowing on 60-70% of the vehicle registration fees, not the whole thing.
Where's the rest
do with the
going?
rest of the money?
Where's the rest going?
So the rest, we hope to pay our executive director and our staff people and do the other things we need to do as an agency.
So basically, it allows you to function.
It allows us to keep going. So.
I think we definitely are partners, aren't we?
But Judge, whenever you're ready to have that joint meeting.
Yeah,
we're
I'm going to
ready.
tell Balde to get together with Louis and get everybody's schedules and so we can come up with the most appropriate date.
You know, I just want the RMA to know that we are partners, if we're going to do this.
There you go, and we appreciate it.
I believe the consensus appears to be that, we can work with the vehicle registration fee dollars. Our concern, or my biggest concern, is the future of that unknown. What happens if things go bad? Who's going to be liable, and how, and when, and how much?
Well, he just said about $1 million a year out of our general fund.
Well, yeah, if you choose to support us, to be quite honest, if the way I see this as, I'm just a volunteer who's trying to do good. But if we spend $15 million on plans, can't find the money, don't want to ask the county for any kind of backstop, then we build a smaller project and we take longer. And we just trudge through the effort until we get to the finish line. And whether that takes 7 years or 15 years,
And I understand we
we're
got to
doing
build it. I mean, we got to build it, but, we got to work together.
Yeah, Dennis, I just want, obviously, the simple fact that the vehicle registration fee is coming from the tax base. So we just need to be mindful as we're making these monumental decisions that from a public perception standpoint, we're doing our due diligence with every single one of those dollars. That's the pressure that I feel every single day.
And we're trying to be very careful with our expenditures. We think we've got, up to this point, good quality work. We took the plan that y'all provided an outline of, 12 years ago, and fleshed that plan out. And so you have been a partner. We wouldn't have had a real idea of what to do without the original county loop study. But we need to move forward from there, and I wish it didn't cost as much money as it does, but it does.
All right, well, thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Next item, presentation and discussion of the courthouse master plan.
Seems like everybody's leaving.
Let's see, maybe a little recess.
No, es que Tito sintió lo frío del acero.
Brian, do you need about 5 minutes to?
We're ready, Judge.
No, he needs 5 minutes.
But if you want 5 minutes, please
Yeah.
take it.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
We're back in open session. We're convening our workshop for today. And item number 3 is presentation and discussion of the courthouse master plan. Mr. Godinez?
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners, staff, and ladies and gentlemen of the audience.
We don't need a quorum, but I guess we ought to have one. Not for a workshop. Well, we ought to have them here, I guess. Let me just call the other commissioners.
Okay.
Here he is now. ¿Cómo estabas tú?
Commissioner Palacios, good to have you back, sir.
He was watching the monitor.
Yes, sir. You look cute.
All right, go ahead, sir.
My name is Brian Godinez. I'm with Godinez Communications. I'm one of the team members of the master planning effort led by ERO Architects. Joining me are Eli Ochoa, CEO, with ER Architects, Gilbert Gallegos with Gallegos Project Management. We were the 3 core team members on this project, and also Elizabeth Martinez with ER Architects. What I'd like to do, with your permission, is give you an idea of what we're going to cover here. In front of you, we gave you some documents, and we're going to provide you with a snapshot of what those documents are. And then at your leisure, you can review these documents that are in front of you. Now, each of your chief of staff was given a copy, a set of these documents, as well as Mr. Cruz in finance. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, do you have an extra copy?
Did we not give?
Let him go watch the monitor back there.
I was enjoying the cartoon.
Maybe Raul may have picked it up, sir.
We can look at them together, Commissioner.
Aquí está, sir, Judge.
Commissioner.
We got it.
I got another one coming.
Here.
Bring it over here.
Here you go.
Yeah, that's acá. Bring it over here. Everybody's got one.
There you go.
Sir.
Ooh, it's in English.
So these documents that are in front of you, your chief of staffs each have a set, as well as Mr. Cruz in budget. We gave a copy to Mr. Sunday in facilities. And we also are going to do the same presentation with a joint session with the Economic Corporation, the Economic Development Corporation of the City of Edinburgh, as well as the City Council on July 25th. We'll be doing the same presentation since Edinburgh is a contributing member and partner in this particular project. So what we'll do is we'll cover the historical aspects very quickly of the courthouse, the justification for the master plan and justification and need for the need of a new courthouse. We'll cover the square footage and spatial requirements for the new courthouse, the preferred vision that was selected by the stakeholder committee that you appointed to work with us, as well as the community representatives that were involved. We also have some probable costs of construction options, 4 of them for you to look at, as well as an implementation schedule if you proceeded with the construction of this over the course of 5 years. So with that, we were engaged last fall and went through about a 7-month process through this. Oh, and by the way, in front of you is a deck of slides. You can see these same slides will be on your screen, but I've also provided you a copy as well that you can go through with me. The engagement went on for 7 months. We finished the core of the master plan and the historical preservation plan in the latter part of April, early part of May. And now we're here in front of you, bringing you a draft of these documents, and with your permission, in the near future, seeking your approval of the master plan that's been developed by our team in conjunction with the stakeholder committee that you appointed. So what you have is the master plan copy in a notebook 3-ring binder, which is in a draft form. We won't take the word draft out until it's approved by the court. And if you open the notebook, you'll see a tab here, and that is the probable cost of construction section, which Eli will cover in the latter part of our presentation. There's 4 scenarios there, and we'll explain what those 4 are as we get later into our presentation. So this particular notebook has a core master plan section, and then as a separate item, the probable cost of construction, where the tab is, the white tab that you'll see in your notebook. Also in front of you is the historical preservation plan that was done by Linebarger and Godfrey. They were one of our team members, which is a fascinating document that covers the history of the courthouse, and then the preservation plan. If we decide to remediate and renovate the courthouse, these would be the guidelines that the architects and engineers and construction group would abide by and or use these particular recommendations if so approved by the court. So that's what's in front of you right now. Now let me begin the presentation and give you a sense of what's in the book. As we said, we hope that at some point when you're ready to adopt, what we'll do is we'll give you a professionally printed set of documents, the master plan in a separate document, and the historical preservation plan in a separate document, and bring you 20 copies for historical purposes as records to keep with the county. They'll be in a magazine-like format once we do final printing. We covered a lot of the history of the county, starting back when the courthouse was originally built along the banks of the Rio Grande River in Hidalgo, and then was eventually moved in 1908 to the city of Edinburgh. You'll see a lot of that historical information in the preservation plan, and we have a brief description of the history of the courthouse in the actual master plan. It's in much more detail in the preservation plan. There's a tremendous amount of photography. I'm just showing you a couple of photographs right now. This is what the courthouse looked like in 1908, right prior to construction of the 1954 new courthouse. You can see that it served as the center of the Edinburgh area, with all 4 major corridors coming right to the courthouse. Another great photograph was done in 1954 at the completion of the construction of the existing courthouse. You can see it juxtaposed with the old courthouse when the old courthouse was there before they demolished it. So that's just another picture. Again, there's a lot of history in both the historical preservation plan and the master plan itself. Now, why did we do a preservation plan? Well, it provides a narrative for the existing courthouse in terms of its development. It provides all the research that was done with regards to records and drawings of the existing courthouse. It references the baseline condition study that ERO Architects did in 2009. And again, as I said earlier, it provides recommendations for the architects, engineers, and construction groups to abide by as a roadmap in terms of its renovation. It's currently noted and designated as an historical building by the Historical Commission of the State of Texas. And the Historical Preservation Plan can be used to submit for funds from that same body through grants for funding purposes for its own renovation and remodeling. I'm going to the next slide. Now, there is some interesting news. In some cases, some people may refer to it as bad news, is that there has been some discussions that why not tear the building down? It served its purpose. It has a lot of problems. Well, because of its designation, the Historical Commission will not allow the demolition of it. There hasn't been a courthouse that's been demolished since 1973 when the Texas Historical Commission was created. 3 counties made attempts to try to do it, and all 3 failed. Last note is $227 million have been allocated by the Historical Commission for courthouse utilization as funds to 82 counties. There are several in line right now for funding. So that pretty much addresses the issue of it still needs to exist, and the question is, what do we do with it? So now I'm going to introduce you to the justification and give you why the purpose of the master plan and the need for a new courthouse. It was originally built in 1954. As you can see in the white portion of this drawing here, that was the original building. 1968, there was an annex building done on the north side. And then in 1978, there was a 3-story north wing addition that was done. And then in 2008, the Sallyport addition was completed. Its total square footage, the main building has 93,000 square feet. The annex building has 8,000 square feet for a total of 101,000 square feet. Now, its uses are many. Besides the county clerk and district clerk there in the building, there are 6 county courts, 9 district courts, 2 master courts, 1 court of appeals, the indigent defense office, the election office, the law library, and the detainee holding all exist within the building. Based on the conditions of the existing courthouse and from the study that was done a couple of years ago, there are many problems with the building. It has health and safety issues. Its support systems are antiquated and about to go out and or need to be replaced. Maintenance needs are immediate and ongoing and constant. And it has many, many functional deficiencies. Specifically, the upper 2 floors have a lot of problems in that building. It has a lot of code violations. It needs immediate remediation to bring it up to code at a cost of about $8 million. Now, the spatial needs, the needs for a new courthouse. Well, we looked at a couple of other courthouses. Actually, we looked at several courthouses in the state of Texas. And we looked at the variances in terms of population growth from when they were first or developed up till today. Now, specifically our courthouse in 1908, population existed at 1,350 people with a square foot of 6,000. In 1954, the population was 168,000 in the county with a 56,000 square foot courthouse built. Well, since the last census, which we have been debating with, we listed at 775,000, and the square footage requirements to accommodate that kind of growth with that kind of population is close to 300,000 square feet. Every courthouse that's been in construction and development throughout the years has experienced the same kind of growth through its history. Now, the correlation is that as population growth, so do the square foot requirements grow as well, as you can see from this chart from 1908 to 2010. Now, in comparisons, El Paso is the courthouse that we have been benchmarking because it has a lot of similar challenges when it was first built in terms of accommodating its own growth. Hays County was the last courthouse built in the state of Texas. 157,000 people in county, 232,000 square feet of space was constructed at a cost of $232 a square foot at about $53 million. When El Paso built theirs 23 years ago, they built a 399,000 square foot courthouse at a cost of $44 million. In today's dollars, that would be $83 million at $111 a square foot. And they're accommodating a population very similar to ours. So in terms of benchmarking and size comparisons, we're following the El Paso model in terms of what they did to get their courthouse done, even though it was some years ago. Now, the need for the new courthouse, it's an existing building with code violations. It's unsafe. It has poor security. Our space needs are 4 times than what exists currently for 24 courts, and it cannot accommodate future growth. So with that, a preferred vision was developed working with the Stakeholders Committee. Not only did we have 4 key stakeholder committees, which you all appointed from various departments and offices, as well as the public, to work with us through this process, we had over 50 individual meetings with county departments that are affiliated with the existing courthouse. We also had 4 community forums in the public. We had 8 finance meetings with budget and finance, and 3 leadership briefings throughout the course of this process with you all, as well as with the City of Edinburgh and the Economic Development Corporation with Edinburgh. All of that was utilized as input, data, information to be able to address and specifically hone in on what's required for a new courthouse. What do we need today to accommodate our current judicial system as well as going forward? And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eli, and he'll explain that and the rest of our presentation up to the probable cost of construction.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, Commissioners, Judge. As Brian had stated, we've had a little over 70 meetings already with various entities with the county. And what the master plan is, it's supposed to be a guideline for what would hopefully be constructed in the future and designed and constructed. So it becomes the roadmap for how we end up addressing the spatial needs of the county as it relates to the courthouse function. The spaces that we've allocated have all followed the whole building design code, which is published by the National Institute of Building Sciences. So these are not numbers or sizes of spaces that were made up. There's actually guidelines, judicial guidelines that are followed whenever you're designing these types of spaces. And that's where the square footages come from. And if you'll notice there, the total square footage based on the program is 495,000 square feet. Now, that does include about 77,000 square feet of off-site square footage. And our recommendation would be to continue to have that square footage off-site because it's much less expensive to provide storage outside of a building such as, or as iconic as the courthouse is going to end up being. So we have about 418,000 square feet of needs. Now, that's a pretty massive undertaking. And understanding that we have an existing courthouse that has about 93,000 square feet. We also have an administration building across the street. The plans that we've come up with actually utilizes some of the existing square footage to try to mitigate the amount of square footage that we would actually have to construct. There's been some talk. Yes, sir.
On those 418,000 square feet that you all are proposing on site, does that include, what type of future growth are you factoring in?
That's actually in today's needs.
So no, you haven't factored any future growth?
Not yet.
Additional county court laws or?
This was today's needs.
Okay.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, if we went to a greenfield site, this would be the square footage that you would need to construct about 418,000. That's not what we're recommending. I'm just saying, if you decided to go off to a greenfield site, you're looking at about 418,000 square feet of construction for the courthouse function.
Don't you have 1 or 2 floors that are there for future needs?
Under the preferred plan scenario that I will be going into, yes, we do accommodate some of that.
That's about 4 to 8 courtrooms.
That's an additional 8 courtrooms.
Right.
Okay? Now, keep in mind, this takes into account all the courthouse functions, county courts, the county clerk, the district clerk, DA, indigent defense. It's basically all the different departments that are within the courthouse function.
I just want to make one note, that in your master plan notebook, as an addendum, there is a detailed multiple page of each square foot that each department or office or court would be affiliated with in terms of getting to that number. There's a tremendous amount of detail. I just wanted to note that.
That's fine. Okay.
Eli, what's going to happen to the parking area?
The parking is addressed, all on-site, all surface parking, no parking garages. The county has a lot of square footage available in land that can be used directly adjacent to this particular facility for parking. Did that answer your question, Commissioner Palacios?
Yes, I don't know that
Okay.
I'm in agreement, but yes.
You can walk.
Right.
Were
Now, the committee, yes, Judge.
No, go ahead. I'll wait till you finish.
What was manifested in the committee were some design guidelines that we'd like to give the ultimate designer at least some vision on how the county would like to proceed with the design. And one of those was to obviously honor the past and the rich history of the county and respect some of the international style of the existing courthouse. They also wanted, as another guiding principle of design, is to inspire the future by providing for daylighting, views, consolidating all the courts so that they're all in one location, making sure that we design this facility as efficient and as sustainable as possible, and obviously to maintain the security for all the patrons that will be using the particular facility. Now, from that came the preferred site plan, and now we're going to actually get into some of the planning that has been being proposed right now. Keep in mind, we're not designing at this point, okay? We're simply planning. We're planning to make sure that we have the correct number of offices, the correct number of spaces, correct number of courts, and things of that nature. So this is all based on a plan. And the plan you'll notice here is actually the existing plan. You'll see the clerk building there on the left-hand side of the image, and then on the south side of the image, you'll see the administration building. And the whole concept came, instead of building the 418,000 square feet, let's try to mitigate the amount of square footage that we would need to construct and utilize some of the existing facilities that are adjacent to us so that we create a courthouse campus, not a courthouse necessarily building. So it's actually divided into a clerk building, a court building, and an administration building. And one thing you'll notice missing here from here is the 281, Business 281 going through the square. The City of Edinburgh has been working with TxDOT and has received already preliminary approval to close that off, providing some very valuable land for the county to use, and they're planning for the courthouse. So,
Eli, I know
Yes, sir.
that you still have a bit more to present, but, you know, we've had a long day, and we still have about 2 other major items, and it's
I would
the
love
rest
to
of the
go
agenda.
through this as fast as you want me to.
No. What I'd like to do, I mean, if you could give us a couple of weeks so that we can look over this material. And when
Absolutely.
you make your presentation, we'd be, you know, better prepared to ask questions of you.
Sure. And
Since
that's-
this is you just provided us with these 3 packets, and that'll give us time to digest them and then be able to discuss it intelligently.
That'd be fine. If the court would like, we'll be more than happy to go and sit down with each of the commissioners prior to having the next workshop, just to kind of make sure that they understand all the information, because there is a lot of information in these documents.
I think that'd be a
And we'll
great
be
idea.
more than happy to go and set up, an hour meeting, hour and a half meeting to answer any specific questions and go meet with the commissioners individually to give them the information that's in this package, if that's what you want.
That's a very good suggestion.
Okay. then we'll go ahead and, through their administrative assistants, work to make sure that we set up those meetings before, say, within the next 2 weeks.
All right.
Would that be fine?
I'd like to, the one you do with the county judge's office, I'd like to include the mayor of Edinburgh and the city of Edinburgh personnel.
Sure.
So make sure you invite them.
We will.
All right, sir. Well, thank you very much,
You're welcome. Thank you.
and look forward to your presentation to the court as a body.
Okay, will do. Thank you, sir.
Our next item is presentation and discussion on Hidalgo County Energy and Efficiency Conservation Strategy. Where's Mr. Guerra? Is this the Vasaldua?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You're not going to be asking us to,
No, sir, it's just going to be a presentation. Just information, it'll be a short presentation.
all right. How long do you think it'll be?
Probably 15 minutes, Judge, the most, 10 minutes?
Make it 5 minutes.
Yeah, well,
10 minutes.
do you want us to proceed, or do you want to?
All right, you can go ahead and get started.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. Jaime Longoria from the County Judge's Office. Judge, as you're aware, the Department of Energy granted the Hidalgo County some monies to undertake some various energy efficiency projects throughout the last couple of years. One of the projects on this that this grant called for was funding an energy efficiency study, a strategy, if you will, for the county to be able to follow, a comprehensive strategy for the county to be able to follow when it deals with energy management projects. And I'm proud to say that after some interesting days of going back and forth with the committee, we've been able to come up and develop a document with the help of some consultants. The county hired Vasaldua and Associates, who in turn hired a subcontractor, Energy Knowledge Group, to assist in developing this strategy. The document that Mr. Vasaldua is distributing is the result of those efforts. It's a 500-plus page document that hopefully is going to help focus the energy strategy for the county and the thoughts of what we're going to do in terms of energy efficiency in the county for the 17 largest energy consumers in the county system. So with us today, we have Mr. Paul Vasaldua, who will give a brief introduction of the project, and then we also have Mr. Donnie Herron from the Energy Knowledge Group.
How much money was the grant for?
The overall grant, Judge, was about $3.5 million to do various projects throughout the county. This portion, it was actually $235,000 for the study. We have Mr. Vasaldua with us, Judge.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Morning,
Paul
sir.
Vasaldua, for the record. I guess it's afternoon now, right? What we wanted to provide today is to have an opportunity to go through the document that shows you, that will show the county how the efficiency process is going to start. The bottom line, when we started this project, is we wanted to identify how the county could save energy, how we could reduce costs, and how we could be a little more green, if you will, in how we move forward in the county. The document in front of you is actually a 5-year strategy that gives your staff and your constituents a view of what day-to-day operations could be like by using a more efficient energy type of system. The process that we went through to obtain this information, I will have Donnie introduce that in a little bit of more detail. But as promised in this contract was that this document would not be something that would be placed on a shelf somewhere and would be collecting dust in some building. This document is something that is going to be user-friendly and is actually going to assist staff on helping reduce energy costs for the county. One of the things that you won't find in the document is a lot of pretty stories and fluff type of things. There's some very technical terms. Mr. Herring has added a glossary of terms to assist with that because the document is very technical in nature. And also, as stipulated by the grant guidelines that the DOE put out, is that we had to register each building with the Energy Star program, which is a automated program that monitors buildings throughout the country, that gives you an idea of how buildings of similar styles in other areas compared to yours. So we have a rating now. We have a grade that the federal government has given us based on the data that we provided in the document. We have that in there for you. And I want to open it up to any comments or questions, and I'm going to have Donnie come in and give a more technical aspect of what the document shares with us today.
I was under the impression that you were not ready, that you were going to be requesting additional time.
Let me explain that to the court. We are requesting additional time because our contract actually ends today. There's 2 items. One of them is worth about 8 hours, which is a training session that I believe Mr. Longoria is scheduling for tomorrow, which is a training session for this document with the committee. The other thing is approximately 2.5 hours that we're lacking to share public involvement, to provide press releases, and that's a matter of coordinating with your PIO. So yes, Judge, those 2 items are lacking, but it's a total of maybe 10 or 12 hours that we need to complete all of our tasks for our project.
But, I'm sorry, Yolanda, are you trying to state something?
Yes, sir. The extension is on the regular agenda. That's why they weren't bringing it up now.
What is
Under purchasing,
What is on
the extension of the contract.
All right, if we're going to be extending it, why do we need to go through, and, I mean, it's a very, God, it must have 1,000+ pages.
Judge, the actual contract called for the development of the actual strategy, the report itself, the document, and there's also some other deliverables, and the other deliverables are the education and public input that Mr. Vasaldua talked about. For all intents and purposes, the written document is what you see in front of you, and it is the pretty close to the final version. The next step is also presented to the committee so that the committee can make a recommendation for adoption to the court. But nonetheless, we thought it would be good for you all to get this document in a workshop form, be able to look at it, spend some time looking at it, and then bring it back for final adoption once all of the deliverables are complete.
If it weren't so bulky and lengthy, and it really looks so technical, that it's not going to be an easy one to digest.
You're talking about 500 pages.
Yeah, the good news is that the committee is also going to review this document, Judge, and the committee will make some recommendations and also present, at the time that we ask you all to adopt it in its final form, is there will be committee recommendations with it as well.
So why don't we wait and discuss it fully at that time, when, we'll be able to get people like yourself and other members of the committee that will have studied it and be able to voice your concerns or your acquiescence about what's in it.
We certainly will do that. We thought Mr. Herron coming in would be able to give you just a preview of what his findings have been at this time.
Well,
We have Mr. Herron step up. Thank you.
yeah, did you want to say something, sir?
Yes, sir. Donnie Herron, Energy Knowledge Group. I'm the principal of the company and responsible ultimately for the report. I can give a quick overview of our approach or something like that if you would like me to set the pace, or we can.
Well, if you could make it quick.
Absolutely.
Quick overview, and then we'll go into detail at the time of the final presentation. That's really the appropriate time, and that time we'll have an opportunity to look it over and have our staff look it over.
Sure, absolutely. Failed to mention there'll be a written test. Just kidding. This is a large document, and I concur with you that it needs to be addressed by the committee. We're having a committee session tomorrow afternoon, and meet with them, and we're still open for critique and open discussion for the document. But our approach coming into this project was from a county level. We were assigned a certain specific number of buildings. And the way we looked at that, yes, these are your largest consuming entities and your assets in your portfolio. In order to obtain a maximum or optimize your savings, the approach is to, from energy efficiency standpoint, is to look at the portfolio from a county layer and not each individual precinct. So our perspective, in order to gain the economies of scale from purchasing, procurement, and so forth, our approach is to look at the county as a whole from all of the electric meters, gas meters, and the assets itself. We were given the buildings, as in our view, these were excellent buildings because it gave us obviously around 70% of your total energy spent is associated with these large buildings. But from a county-wide perspective, our approach is, again, to look at the county-wide and then let that trickle down to the different precincts, but to have somebody that's in the chain of responsibility that's going to be responsible for this reduction in energy spend as well as implementing the strategy long-term. So
Go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
So again, that's the approach that we came into this project. And so there's no doubt there's individual projects in the specific buildings that we looked at, and those are going to reap great benefit. But again, and just like your previous presentation with the courthouse makeover, that needs to be addressed in that whole process so that becomes a part of the long-term energy strategy. So that's where energy efficiency needs to be a commitment by the court, and it needs to have some focus and emphasis on a daily basis so you can obtain those savings long-term. But that was our approach in general, and again, for the sake of time and to respect your request, and I concur.
Frankly, I'm really interested in listening to it in detail. I didn't realize, well, the cost to the county to be able to determine the savings. There must be a lot of detail in it that.
There's detail, but there's also structure about how to go forward and implement this strategy. It's just not a technical overview and metrics of what we learned about the building. It also, there's action steps in there, and it discusses how to implement this strategy for a long-term effect.
Okay. All right, sir. We have one question from Commissioner Palacios.
Which page, Mr. Palacios?
The one identifying the buildings that were used in collecting information. For example, you have some buildings that belong or being housed, used to house DPS.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm having trouble hearing.
We have some buildings that were used in this study, in particular Precinct 1 and Precinct 3, and DPS offices. So your recommendation is going to be based for those individual buildings or for the whole county, or what are we?
My recommendation.
Commissioner, to answer your question, the recommendations are countywide, but those buildings were assigned to us by county staff, and those were identified as county-owned buildings. And that's how we came up with a list of buildings.
Yeah, it's part of the multipurpose center on Precinct 3.
Yeah, but each of the precincts have multi-purpose centers, so.
Right.
Yeah, and again, from our perspective, we looked at these as sample buildings to build off of so we can put together a long-term strategy for all facilities. There's over 200 electric meters in the county, so that was our perspective there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Judge, as I mentioned, the two consultants will be meeting with the committee later, actually tomorrow, going over the report. At that time, the committee will also make some recommendations, and then the report in its final version will be presented to Commissioners Court together with a summary of those recommendations for your review and for your acceptance.
I think the charge of the committee should be to point out to us what's good about the report, and what's bad.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, Judge. Thank you so much. Commissioners, thank you.
All right. I need a motion to adjourn the workshop.
So, second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. At this time, would like to reconvene our regular County Commissioners Court meeting for today. Item 17E, budget appropriations.
You need some of those miracle pills.
Afternoon, Judge, Commissioner.
Yeah, you could have-
Item 17E1
I have some at the house. I ordered 10 bucks.
is approval of 2012 appropriation of funds for Precinct 3 Drainage Improvement Project in the total amount of $65,780.61.
Move to approve.
Need a second? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 17E2 is approval of certification of revenues as certified by the county auditor for the Precinct 1 Drainage Improvement labor reimbursements.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And 2B is the approval of the appropriation of those funds in the total amount of $48,386.10.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Judge, Commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Item 18, purchasing.
Yes. Martha Salazar for the Purchasing Department. No action or reports to be given on items 18A, 1, 2, 3, A, B, and C inclusive. Item 4, this is acceptance of an amendment to the contract number 117 with Godinez Communications, DBA Brian Godinez for professional consulting services. And this would be to incorporate exhibits B1 and B2 into the contract because they were separate on the specs but not incorporated into the contract, and this would permit the extension, which is an option by the county, to terminate next August of 2013. And that's all it is. It's just that it wasn't included as part of the,
So you need
But it-
action for that?
yes.
Second.
On item 4.
40.
The extension is, the question is, the extension, how long is it for?
Just through August, it's a year, through August
August
2nd of 2013. But you couldn't take that option because the requirements in the RFP had it as an option, but wasn't included in the contract document. So all we're doing is incorporating by reference that option of the court.
Is this for the work he's done with the Drainage Committee and Hidalgo, the Courthouse Planning
This is for
Committee?
for the contract he has with
All
you,
right.
yes.
Steve, is that proper to do that after the fact?
Well, the first contract was actually include those specs when it was bid. That established the contract. And the following document is just evidencing that contract. So as I understand it, exhibits A and B were in the specs.
Correct.
And so all we're doing is adding exhibits A and B to the formal contract, which is now before you.
Right, but they were in
Which
the-
are exhibits to the original contract
They're originally
anyway.
exhibits to, originally documents in the specifications.
Yeah, but there were options that were published in the
No, they're not,
specifications.
yeah, there were options
Right,
to the court.
Right, but when the contract was entered into, they were not included in the contract. So my question is, can we now enter those options into the contract? when-
The specs became a contract when the
The original
bid was
document was-
accepted. That becomes a contract. The bid and the offer and the bid become a contract when the bid's accepted.
All right, before we act on it, Ms. McClarity, do you have a statement?
Yes, I thought you were going to forget me. Well, it was brought to our attention that doesn't someone from the Budget Department or some of the people who are trained to do something like this, why couldn't we do this in-house to save taxpayers' money? We were just checking to see if the county didn't already have someone that, or a department that could take care of some of this like this instead of us having a contract and just giving it out.
That was
Marty?
something that the court did discuss when this project first came up, and it was determined by the court that there was a specific need to address this at one point of contact, and that's
We
why it
have
was
one-
let out.
I'm sorry, Marty, we have one other person who wants to.
Oh, I'm
present.
sorry. Yes.
Mr. Travers?
Thank you for having me. I'll try to make this very brief. I went through the material which is furnished in the amendment document, briefly looking at page 6, the scope, jointly developed strategies relating to the county's revenue expenditures and efficiencies. Broad statement, there's about 20 items. Everything under the sun can come under this, no matter what the people are doing. Page 7, proposers must provide a fee schedule, all-inclusive, including an hourly rate. Page 4, no subcontracting without letting the court know. The last page is an affidavit that the contractor had no employees. So in essence, this turns out to be a personal services blanket contract in which a number of things can be done one at a time. It's clear that they're supposed to report and get approvals of the commissioners on every case, but if it's really a shortcut, and if the commissioners are going to exercise their due diligence on each work authorization, I really fail to see the logic of why a blanket contract is needed at all. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Marty.
Get back in here. So we need action on that amendment.
All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve item 18-4. AA4. I got a motion and a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Aye, motion carries.
Your next item 5 is recommendation by project architect Alcocer Garcia and Associates for Commissioners Court to award to lowest bidder meeting all specifications, that being D. Wilson Construction Company in the amount of $3.314.
Before we proceed, for the record, Commissioner Tito Palacios abstaining on that particular item. Monica, if you get one of those forms for him to sign.
I'd like
Okay,
to-
I'm sorry.
No problem. I'd like the court to know that on this particular project, we had 7 bids come in. 5 of the bids are within $150,000 of each other. They were very competitive. 1 bid was about $500,000 off, and then there was 1 loan bid, the 7th, that was about $700,000. But you had 5 viable, very competitive, viable bids. The low bidder, though, that is being recommended, and Mr. Alcocer is here, is D. Wilson Construction at an amount of $3,314,000 for bid number 029. This is the renovations for the former administration building, 1st and 2nd floors.
He is the lowest bidder.
He is the lowest
I
bidder.
don't want to do what some other people do.
Mr. Alcocer, they met all the specifications, correct? All the guidelines, addendums, everything? Okay. So there's no questions on your part? You're recommending approval?
Marty, how many square feet is this renovation?
Do you remember?
Why don't you get out here so we can hear you, Mr. Alcocer?
Get an idea how much per foot.
I'm normally bashful, but I didn't bring the paperwork with me, but it's approximately about 60,000 square feet total. That's 1st and 2nd floors.
So how much a square foot do you think?
I want to say a little bit over $50 a square foot, which is a very, very attractive price considering we're including demolition and the refurbishing or renovations of the 1st and 2nd.
Does this include the county commissioner's meeting room?
No, sir.
When are you going to get around to doing that one?
As soon as we finish, as soon as we get this started, we'll start on that other one.
And where are you going to locate it?
It would be, right now, and we need Commissioners Court to allocate that space, would be directly south of it would be in addition to.
Oh, in the parking lot like you were talking about?
The south parking lot.
That would be directly south of the building. It's the parking lot where the commissioners and yourself, Judge, used to park.
Why didn't we incorporate that project with this?
Pardon
Why
me?
didn't we incorporate that project with this?
South.
We didn't because we were too far along, and we're going to be proposing, I think, a possible option for a JOC to do
Possible
that
what?
building, because it's for a job order contractor as opposed to general construction. It's going to be an option to the court once we develop some figures for you.
How long would it take to?
And it won't take as long to construct.
How long do you think it'll take to complete
This
particular job?
For the new building?
The one
This particular project, we're looking at about 12 months.
So about a year and a half max?
Yes, sir. But I think that we could be optimistic that we would also have the Commissioner's courtroom completed with the same calendar.
Well, we need to bring it back to Commissioner's Court, I mean, another, to go ahead
Oh,
and
no,
start
that's
the
a
other
separate project, yes, sir.
Yeah, but-
Now, what this bid does not include, so the court will know, it does not include any of the technology, the computers,
Wiring.
the wiring, the cabling, the phone system. Those were not part of the bid, but there is budget for that.
Are we doing that work?
We're doing it because we have a very attractive contract, the court, the
No, are we
county-
doing that work in-house, the IT?
The IT? Yes, we're going to do it with a contract we already have. Now, it does include the basic conduits and everything for those in this bid, but it doesn't include, of course, the actual.
So, Mr. Alcocer, it includes all the rough-in?
Yes, sir.
For IT? Okay.
Right.
All right, do you know when you'll be ready to let out the one for the court out for bids?
Mr. Alcocer would have to be assigned that additional work
I like the way you defend yourself.
because he
So
currently is.
Mr. Alcocer is not the one with
He's not the
that con-
architect. No, he has assisted us in just giving us some preliminary overviews. Only because he knew the needs of when we were going to use the original commissioner's courtroom and renovate it. That is
All
why
right.
he's been instrumental in this.
Okay, we need a motion and a second.
Move approval.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Ed. Item 6, this is requesting exemption from competitive bidding requirements under 262-024A, 7A, items which competition is precluded because of its existing patents, copyright, secret processes, or monopolies. This is for the Elections Department. I need the exemption.
Move for approval.
Need a second. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
B is requesting approval of a sole source declaration for ES&S, Election Systems and Software, for any software, hardware, maintenance agreements, and supplies for the Ivotronics and ADA machines for the lifetime of the machines purchased from the time period of 2005 to 2007, including the
Move
refurbished
to approve.
purchased in 2011.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item 7, this is a status by consultant Basaldo and Associates for the project titled Consulting Services. I think you just got an overview of that. This was just a status report unless you all have more questions of Mr. Valsaldua. I can go on to item B.
Nope.
Then I'll proceed. Item B is pursuant to Article 3.02 under period of services request by awarded consultant Basaldo and Associates. Commissioners Court approve an extension on this agreement.
Move to approve.
He's requesting till July 31st.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item C is pursuant to Article 11.1, assignment or transfer of interest, request by awarded consultant Basaldo and Associates. The Commissioners Court approved the assignment and transfer of interest to Energy Knowledge Group, LLC EKG, of the contract balances reflected in the revised Appendix B, and those are in the amounts that are posted on the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Who is Energy Knowledge Group?
The gentleman who just gave you the report.
Oh, okay. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Item B, this is for Colonia Access Program for Precinct 4, presentation through project engineer Jane Science, approval of the change order number 1, and this is presentation of the change order itself, the document, with contractor Sascon for Lakeview subdivision on Precinct 4, reflecting an additional 200 calendar days to contract time due to Sascon's work stoppage.
Second.
All right, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
That is all I have. Thank you.
Motion carries.
Executive session.
All right, on item 19, the first presenter is Mr. Joe Rodriguez.
Hello. I'm here because this open door policy that you all say you all have in place, it's not so. I've called the judge's office, I've gone by there to talk to him. No return call, nothing. No follow-ups. I talked to Commissioner Palacios. We got that straightened out. Same thing goes with the sheriff, open door policy, nothing. I've called for assistance on neighborhood watch, for cops units, for ex-patrol, and it falls on deaf ears. The thing is, I've gotten vandalized at my house. I have a neighbor that's a DPS officer. His unit got vandalized. Homes are getting broken into. We want to talk to the people that are in charge so they know what's going on, and we can't get to them. And it's frustrating, especially, we're getting taxed and we're not getting representation. And these units, basically, also on another note, you got these sheriff's officers going down the street, excessive speeds. There's no emergencies. I call in, tell them the unit number and what have you, and they never get back to me. They're on the phone, they're texting while they're driving. That's a liability for the taxpayer if something happens. So these are just little issues on top of like they say, the glacier. There's so many more hidden underneath the water. And if y'all can address them, and when the person calls or goes by your office and says they want to meet with you, we understand it's not immediate, but it'd be great to get a call back and an appointment set up. So we don't feel like they're just empty promises when you're running for a position. Like they say in Spanish, te la pintan bien bonito, y ya que están en la oficina, they forget about you. And I'm not here, like you said the other day, Judge, to harp. It's just people get tired, and we want results, not empty promises. And I want to thank you all for your time and consideration to let me come up here and tell you this.
All right, sir. Next.
Clarify a comment.
Sir?
You're talking about.
I believe he was talking about precinct 4.
Precinct 4. He's precinct 4.
Yeah, I'll put you down.
But he said Commissioner Palacio. I want to make sure that.
All right,
He's talking about the right.
Next presenter is Fern McClarity. You probably have about 2 minutes or so.
Oh, is that all I got left? Okay, well, I'll talk fast. Today, we were talking in the drainage, and I think you said for $100,000, only $20. But you have to remember, not only do we have on that $100,000 home, you have the drainage, you have the county's 59 cents, if that doesn't go up sometime, school, city, STC, South Texas High School, and God only knows what else is on that tax bill, that on that little bit of $20 here, it adds up to thousands, $5,000 or something by the time we get through. So this is what the people are talking about for when y'all are talking about these toll roads and the courthouse being $85 million. I understand, I think last week you took the money that was going to renovate the old courthouse and gave it to Precinct 1. Whenever the guys just now got up and said how horrible this building is and how bad it is and whatnot, obviously that was more important right now to take care of was the courthouse that we have, the existing one. And then you're talking about the vehicles. I don't know, I noticed that y'all were talking about have people having tickets and warrants and stuff, and they won't be able to get their cars registered and get their car tags. Hate to tell you, but they're not going to stop driving them. They're going to have them on the streets. And each time you put a burden on them, it just gets more dangerous for the vehicle. And like I say, I see that they're here today wanting the RMA, wanting more money, wanting to make sure the county's going to stand behind them give them, for the next 30 years, 50 years, God only knows how long, money from the same taxpayers that are going under out there. I don't know if y'all get out in your precincts, but take a drive. In the cities, they're going under. The businesses can't afford all these different wonderful things. Like I say, the toll road, the courthouse, the drainage. The people here are hurting. So please stop spending the money and think of them and think how we can take care of what we've got right now and use it, and then we can hopefully one day afford all these dreams. And the courthouse space, as far as the square footage, I was on that committee, that was the wish list. I hear that, think out of the box. So each one of those rooms that they were saying they needed, that was a wish list. And like I said before, my wish list is to live in a house like Ramon's, huge. But my husband keeps telling me we can't afford it. So it's the same thing with the people. We can't afford this huge courthouse and you're spending right now. Thank you.
Next presenter is Dr. Adams. Yeah, I know. Okay. Dile que se ponga a trabajar. John Peña. Good morning, Mr. Peña.
Good morning, sir. My name is John Peña, and I'm running for Democratic Chair, and I'm just going to remind the citizens of Hidalgo County that there's a runoff starting off on the 23rd up to the 27th, and the day of the election is the 31st. So Hidalgo County, don't forget to go off to the runoffs. We're still in the primary stages at this point of year, but hopefully it gets better next election cycle. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Peña, thank you for reminding our citizens of their right and obligation. Next presenter is Manuela Arroyo. Is Ms. Arroyo here? Next presenter is Mr. Joseph Palacios.
Judge, I've already addressed the issue, so we're good.
All right. And I just wanted to comment on the issue of drainage. You know, we're not imposing any kind of a tax increase. We're voting to allow the community to be able to vote so that they can make a determination as to whether or not they believe that an additional 2 cents tax increase is justifiable to address the drainage problem that we have here in this county. And that will be coming up for their consideration, hopefully at the next election in November, well, whenever date the general election is. And at this time, pursuant to 551-071 and 072, I would entertain a motion to proceed to a executive session. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. It is now 1:11.
What?
Judge?
I know, we need one more.
One more.
There
There he is. There's two more.
All right, we're back in open session. Item 21.
Thank you,
Real
Judge.
estate acquisition.
Mr. Peña? Mr. Peña?
Joe?
The other Joe.
He doesn't need any pills.
I'll proceed as directed. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Judge, Commissioners, under open session for pending and or potential litigation, there is no action. For the claim of Julio Garcia, Judge, Commissioners, I would like settlement authority to make an offer in the amount of $65.
Move to approve.
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Judge, Commissioners, under the claim of Maria Robledo and Hilario Robledo minor, I want to disclose that we're going to assign this to Ms. Josie Ramirez's office.
And maybe we can get a report in about a couple of weeks.
in a couple of weeks,
A legal
yes.
memorandum on the county's responsibility or liability and, things of that nature.
Judge, Commissioners, that's all I have at this time.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.